kept seeing a car go into the water. All day they've been showing me reruns in my mind of Adventures with Purpose. VP's gonna find her in the Prosser Lake.
We have found Kylie Rodney's vehicle. Again, our search for Kylie at Prosser Creek Reservoir on August 21st at 10.
There are plenty of questions and very few answers after 4 students at the University of Idaho were found murdered in their off-campus house.
It's like if you look at Ted Bundy's eyes and you look at his eyes, they're the same. Maybe a little bit lighter. The one thing that I keep seeing is curls. So I don't know if he has curly hair or wavy hair, and that might be when it's grown out. I think he elongated, like his face might be a little bit longer. There's a reference to a pointier type nose. He honestly looks a lot like Ted Bundy, but like a jacked up Ted Bundy. Like not as handsome. Seriously, that's what I heard, like a jacked up Ted Bundy. Why am I hearing the word campus security? I keep getting like a security guard or a badge. I don't really, and that could be in his past as well. That might not mean that he just does it right now. And names can be, like I said, interconnects can happen, so they might not even fit this case, or they can be connections to someone. I keep getting like a Brian or something like that. It's because they are going to catch him. Because I'm seeing him in an orange jumpsuit.
Good.
So that tells me that he wasn't as smart as he thought he was. Okay. He's probably going to go to jail for this eventually. I keep getting December.
8-year-old Brian Koberger, he was arrested Friday in
I also get the name Richard again.
I also get the name Rick. Damn name Allen is coming in again.
Jailed 50-year-old Richard Allen in connection with the double murder. Teen best friends Libby German and Abby Williams went hiking on a trail and never came home.
Done on November 20th, 2019 at 7:14 p.m. Q and O. I don't know. I hear something like Quentin or Quinton. I've heard that. I'm not sure if it fits here at all, but I'm seeing trash and I'm not sure, but I've gotten it a lot, so it fits someone.
9:42 Wednesday morning. Quentin Simon's mom told 911 her little boy was gone.
I do keep hearing a trash truck though. Then I keep hearing the trash truck. It's almost like the trash truck is around the same time that he left. That's one thing I can't get rid of is the twisting of the trash bag. And so then I'm like, well, is he in the trash?
Okay.
Unfortunately, I hate to say that. I do hear landfill. Could be that's where maybe the cops think that he is. Like he's in a trash bag, but...
Well, new tonight, a heartbreaking search underway in Georgia for a missing toddler. Police are sifting through trash at a landfill for the remains of 20-month-old Quentin Simon.
If he's still alive, which honestly earlier I felt he was, and I felt like he was going to be found. That was earlier in the day.
A 3-year-old boy found alive and in good health.
For some reason, I do want to go out the back of the house, though, but like to the wooded area, but I don't.
He was last seen on Friday playing with his dad in their backyard.
And I said, like, within 3 miles by a log. I'm not seeing him being hurt, and I'm not seeing someone coming up and getting him.
And I said, were you alone? Yes.
The main 2 things I keep getting is the wooded area and the shed.
Well, to take cover in that shed. And I truly...
My kid, I would want somebody to come help.
We are live as law enforcement and volunteers search late into the night to find...
I see him running to the woods. Like, Cam, like, is this an abduction or did he run off? Because then they give me the Riker thing. No, I keep getting the repeated image of him running to the woods.
It's like right in their backyard.
Okay. So maybe he decided he wanted to go play and then he kind of got lost in the woods. Okay. He's got to be within 2 miles. I keep getting that 2 mile. So like I keep getting reference to the edge of the woods. And so he's still alive because I'm not using him to get this information.
Right.
Around in the woods like I can't find my way out. I'm stuck. Like and I said he's in a bush.
Okay.
And we were like, what the heck? What do you mean he's in a bush? I said, he's in a bush, and there's searchers around him, but they've missed him.
Okay.
Because he's in this bush.
And I went across a field of grass. I came up on some woods, and I listened good. I heard like a whimpering kind of noise, and at that point I was like, there's no other kids here. It's got to be JJ. So sure enough, I went in the woods, and about 100 feet from where I was at, I think he was in some stickers. There's a lot of stickers and all there.
Tonight in our Missing series, a case that we have heard a lot about from our viewers.
The person.
He wants to take me down the road to like a neighbor's house or something, like another farm. I also hear neighbor. He said he knows this guy. He knows him. And he's a neighbor. I don't know what the friends come in.
Suspect, 58-year-old James Brenner, who also happens to be Dylan's closest neighbor in the remote desert area of Lucin.
I'm muted again. Okay, hi everyone. Good to be here. Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Welcome to a special edition of the Psychic Sleuth and Luminary Luna Beams. Beams. So no, so you guys, as you guys know, that's my intro, and I put it there so that new people know what they're coming to the channel for. But I was giving people a chance to get here tonight for the live, so I did my longer intro. So it's just the validation video that I put in the beginning. So anyways, we are talking to Luna Beams tonight, and we're going to be talking about things that go bump in the night. So the darker things, how to deal with them, her stories, my stories, all of those kind of things. It should be a very educational yet fun live. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring her on. Also, if you guys want to follow her or whatever, her information is in the description box below. So is all the information for anything else you need to know about this channel. So, all right. Here we go. Hey.
How we doing? I had a time to meditate and kind of like ground myself, y'all. This is my first live. I'm just letting you know. I've got everything wrote down, planned out, but I might mess this up. So just everybody give me a little good positive vibes.
Oh, don't worry about this. We're all kicked back. On this channel. So don't even. It's like you're in a room with a bunch of friends. All good.
That's exactly how I'm trying to I feel. And I mean, I know I'm in the chat often, so I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on.
I was just gonna say you're in the chat a lot. You know how we handle things here. So yeah, there's really nothing to mess up. You're just gonna talk about what your specialty is. So
that's right.
I mean, let's get into about you and start off that way.
Sure. So my name is Chastity, A.K.A. I call myself the Luminary Luna Beams. I'm a psychic medium and an astrologer, still kind of a baby astrologer, but I specialize in the paranormal and also spiritual guidance. So I help people that are kind of just figuring out that they may have abilities, and then I try to help them along the way. Also, I help clients with different paranormal type things, try to help them identify kind of what's going on and where it's rooted at. The main thing is like the origin story. That's really what I tend to try to focus on. And once you can get to that origin story, you can kind of uncover a lot of things that may be hidden even to the client, things they haven't thought about in a long, long time. So that's kind of what I do. I'm also the host of the Lights at Midnight podcast with my co-host, Emily, the Fine Art Medium. So we've been doing that for about 6 months. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, that's kind of what I do these days. Yep, that's about it. And I've got, let's see.
Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah, I do TikTok, Instagram. We have it for lights. We have it for Luna Beams. I have Instagram for all those too, constantly on the socials these days. And I've changed everything to the Luminary Luna Beams. I just recently did that. So spirit kind of ended up wanting me to change it, and luckily it wasn't taken. So y'all may have known me before as Luna Beams or just Chastity. Yep. So
I know her as Chastity, and so I
yeah.
have a hard time calling her Luna Beams. I want to say Beams.
Yeah, and it's fine either way.
Beams.
I respond. My name is kind of like yours. It's Chasity, so everybody messes it up. It's like Chastity, all kinds of stuff. Charity. So I respond to mostly anything at this point.
At least you won't call me Rachel, though.
No, it is Rachelle, everybody. It is Rachelle. I do remember that. I actually had to ask, though. It was so funny because I've noticed people calling you that, and I'm like, is that her name? Because I've been calling you Rachelle for over a year now since we started talking. So
yeah,
we got that squared away.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
So do you want to go with your experiences or my experiences, or how you
Well,
helped me with mine, or what do you want to, how do you want to play this?
You know what? Go ahead and start with yours, and then we'll see what we just kind of get into, because today I would just really like to talk about kind of how people become haunted and the ways and things that you can expect. I'm not going to take a super big deep dive because I'd like to save time, of course, to answer some questions, but I would like to tell everybody about my kind of like my origin story and how I got into it. But it's up to you, however you want to do it.
Why don't we start there? Your
Okay.
origin story, how we got into it, because when we get into mine, I want to ask you what you think about those experiences.
Okay, that sounds good.
And then we'll go into whatever else that you had planned you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
And then we'll take questions.
Gotcha. All right. So pretty much I ended up having a pretty not paranormal childhood. I wasn't really into religion. My family, like, they just told me I'm from the South, if y'all can't tell. Okay. So it was mainly Southern Baptist and stuff like that. And my family just told me, like, Jesus saves, and that's about it. Don't sin, be good. And I never really had a background in any type of religion. And I ended up going to church camp. So everything changed for me at this point in my life. I ended up going to church camp with a friend of mine, and I ended up having my first astral experience. So I decided that, I wanted to be saved. I was 12 years old, pure, like nothing, I was just a child, really. And I ended up going and having my first astral experience after I decided to get saved. And I was in the bed, to make it short. I was laying in the bed. The cabin was completely dark. I was with 11 other people, or 10 other people. And my friend actually slept beside of me that night because something was like wrong with her bed. She said her back was hurting. So she was sleeping beside of me, and I'm laying there in this like between and awake state, right? And I'm laying flat on my back, and I have my eyes closed, and I see like an oval door appear. And I feel like I fly through the door. I've never had anything like this happen to me at this point. And I go through this door, and I like open my eyes, but it wasn't like in the waking world. It was in the spirit world, which I know now, but I didn't know then. And there was light emanating from the other side of the room. And this was scary, because I'm like, I know I'm awake. I know that. Why am I seeing this? There's something there. And in the empty bunk across the room, my body started lifting up like this, just straight up. It was like light as a feather. I didn't feel anything. And as I got up over my friend's like silhouette, I saw this large ball of glowing light, and it just emanated through the whole room, but it was really soft. And as I got even further up, I saw a man in a white robe with like brown curly hair and gold tassels, and I freaked out. I mean, I lost it in my, just within myself. And I was like, oh God. And I opened my eyes in the waking world, and it was still black. Like I was still laying flat. And then I closed them again, and my body was still raising up, looking over. And then the person that y'all may know who I'm maybe describing, who I feel after so many years, like I finally accepted what happened to me. He was raising up too towards the light, and then I just opened my eyes, and I had to tell everybody the next day. Well, that was evidently a pivoting point for my abilities and the type of work that I do. So after that, I mean, I went back a couple years, but I was a teenager. I did teenager things. I ended up actually playing with a Ouija board, and it was very accurate. I was probably 6 months later. So, you go from being in a church setting to that, but when you're a kid, you do dumb things, the Ouija board experience was really crazy because it literally ended up like telling me things that I didn't tell my friend. So I knew she wasn't moving it, like my social security number. Yeah, my mother like drilled that in my head at 12 and 13 years old, so I'd know it. But the point is like, you know, it was moving, and it was answering questions like my mother's maiden name, things that my friend didn't know. And the last time we used it about 3 times. I didn't even believe in it. She was the one that believed in it. And finally, like it struck me like something's talking to us. And finally, the last question we ever asked it was, "What is your name?" And it spelled out Jesus. And you can't do that to 2 like Southern white girls that live in the suburbs, because we never touched it again. I mean, we never touched it again. But I ended up like, it kind of caused a lot of negative things like to happen in my life. Now, my home life was kind of rough. I won't go too far into that, but it ended up seeming like it caused worse things to happen. I mean, I had woke up and seen a man standing across my room, and this was all after that experience at church camp. I saw him standing across the room, and he had like a white silhouette, and it was just a man, and he disappeared because I had literally just opened my eyes. I think it was during summertime. And I saw that, and then, you know, just my mom would tell me tales and stuff like that. But I was always interested in the supernatural. I've always had like a claircognizant ability to be able just to know things, or just even being empathic. I always got along with people that were older than me. Like I just understood things for a while, for like, you know, not like a child would, just kind of ahead of my time. Well, I ended up meeting a guy around the same time that I had went to church camp, and he was a very significant part of my life and a very significant part of my 15-year haunting, roughly 15 years on and off. I met my future husband, and I think I was 12, same time all this stuff started happening to me. When I was 14, my friend was dating his friend, and we got connected. Well, of course, I started going to see him and stuff with other friends. Like we were 15, 16 years old, and ended up having some really crazy experiences. I have released this information, so I don't mind saying it, but I used to live in a place called Stokes County. And if anybody is familiar with Stokes County, North Carolina, if you've seen the 28 Days Haunted episodes on Netflix, they have the Madison Dry Goods store, and some of you guys may know what I'm talking about, but if not, it's a really creepy place. And that's even in the county, like right next to it, but it's all like Indian land. I mean, they had like Indian wars, not the Indian War, but wars among tribes. It's called Sartown Mountain, and Upper Sartown and Lower Sartown. So the place energetically is like, it's wide open, but there's a lot of, it's a really cool place, but there's a lot of like history there that really resonates. And if you're sensitive, you're going to feel it. I ended up going to see him one night, and this was the first like super scary experience I ever had. That kicked off my haunting, in my opinion. We had went to visit them, and we went to a place called Payne Road. You know, everybody has a road in their like city or town or something that's haunted. So we went there and drove down the road or whatever, come back, everybody's hanging out. And when we get ready to leave, everything's fine. But when we get ready to leave, we get in the car, and we're just driving down this long, dark country road, because it was a county away from where I lived, and ended up feeling like something was behind me. And in my mind's eye, which I didn't know what none of that was then either, in my mind's eye, I could see like a dark mass almost tailing on to the back of the car. And evidently the 2 other girls that were with me, the driver and the passenger, we all were quiet. We went from laughing and having a good time to like dead silent. And so we all finally, about 10 minutes into the ride, I'm like, I think something is following us. And I thought they were going to think I was crazy. Nay, my driver actually saw it. And then the passenger, she felt it too. So it took us to feel comfortable until we got back to my friend's house, and ended up going inside, and that's when it stopped. But I continued to date this fellow. Of course, I married him when I was like 21, and you know, the family and stuff. But the big thing is like, the more we dated and the more I went up there, you know, things kept getting weirder. Like everybody, all the friends, he had like 20, 30 friends in his friend group that come by and see him and stuff like that. Well, this thing or whatever, people would talk about it like jetting off in the woods because his house was next to the woods. And they would see it like zigzag. And, you know, I hadn't seen it yet. But then one night I did. I saw it in the car, but I didn't put two and two together. Well, eventually I ended up moving in with him. And that's when things kind of picked up. Like within the first couple weeks, his mother was having some really hard, challenging times. I don't want to say too much, but she was kind of going through a nervous breakdown because of things. And they were good, like Christian people, Pentecostal holiness. Well, they ended up stopped going to church, and like his parents split, and she ended up suffering from what we thought was a nervous breakdown. Well, this is when I'm about 17, 18 or whatever. We got home from work because me and him worked together. I let my little puppy in the yard, out of the pen in our little house. And something like charged me in that backyard that night and made like the weirdest sound, just like just a freaky sound. And I told his mother, I was 17. I don't know why I did this, but I just felt compelled to tell his mother, like something charged me, you know, last night or 2 nights ago in the backyard. And she was like seeing things and hearing things and stuff like that. She was kind of delusional at the time. You know, we knew she was sick and we were helping her, you know, best we could. And when I told this little 5 foot tall lady this, her stance, like I'm 5'7", she's 5 foot. I'm not, she's 50 years old. I'm not intimidated by her. Like, and I don't mean that in a rude way, but you know, if she was like, come at me, I feel like, you know, I could handle it and, you know, take care of it. Not this time. No, nay. This little 5 foot tall lady, her eyes grew dark, like a shadow come over her face, and her teeth, they grew. She literally grew up towards me, and she started screaming in a language that she does not speak. That was the first time I had encountered anything that dark through a person. And like, I'm left for years here trying to figure out, why do dark things like me? Why are they showing themselves to me? And I mean, it continued throughout my 20s and stuff, and just dealing with things that aren't normal and putting them off, and still going to college and living my life. But you know, that's when I knew that I could perceive things, but other people around me were too. So that's kind of like, you know, what got me into this is having these experiences. And I mean, like I said, things would happen. I eventually moved out of that place, didn't have as many experiences. We bought our house that we're in now. And you know, even our relationship suffered greatly from, I feel, just, you know, our own faults, but even like negative influence and not understanding how to deal with that. It really wasn't until I would say I was 30, because I'm fine with sharing my age. I'll be 36 at the end of the month. Really wasn't until I was about the baby face. But it really wasn't until I was about 30 or 31 that I started to have like my great awakening, like right around my Saturn return. Let me have a sip of your water. Okay, yeah.
30, yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, a lot of crazy things have happened, and I've talked about these things on the podcast. I've talked about these things on the Fine Art Mediums channel. Because I definitely have a few things I want to say, but I just wanted to give y'all kind of a little bit of a background about my paranormal history. But once I hit like that age, I had my Saturn return, and started to I thought it was so crazy, because I ended up going to visit he was my ex-husband at the time, because now I'm in a new relationship with a new partner. We've been together almost 8 years, because that did end, unfortunately, but we all grow, we all, you know, move on. And yeah, things kind of resurfaced too around that time with my ex, because we were trying to get along with the kids, and, you know, spend time with them together as a family and as an extended family, you know, and really trying to work on that. But there was a lot of things that happened, and he ended up moving out of his house, that he left when he left here. It ended up resurfacing, because certain people had come back into his life that I think had something to do with it. And I will just say it's along the lines of satanic conjuring and worshiping. somebody that had ties to that. And even though they didn't still do it, I think it had something to do with it. And this is like me looking back on it. This isn't just like in the midst of it, because you're frightened. You're trying to figure all this out. And he actually left the house that he moved into after we got the house settled here with me and the children, because like the thing was making noise, scratching on the walls, like, and I helped him, and me and my fiance helped him, and to get out of there, because it was like wow, 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 beating on the walls. Then it came home with me, and this was when I was about 30. And then I had like this, my kids, I had younger children, all the ages of like 10 and below, and I'm like, not today, Satan, for real. I ended up growing so much from this experience and understanding so much, and actually coming into my life's purpose because of the traumatic things that I actually went through. And it's funny how that happens. Like, you kind of have to go through hell, or have to go through the dark to really appreciate the light. And that's really like the story of my life. Yeah, and I ended up having to get rid of it and finding some super awesome people along the way, like Rachelle, and then, because I've been doing this for about 3 or 4 years now. But yeah, I mean, I grew a lot, and I learned a lot, and I learned a lot through like meditation and just, research and conversations between me and the divine, or me and the creator, or me and my spirit guides. Like, I make it a point to take that time to, your inner discernment. So I take all these things collectively, and it goes a lot deeper than this, but I take all these things collectively from my experiences, the people that I've helped, and then I help them with the paranormal experiences, or just in general, because I do, if y'all saw the reading Rachelle did to me, it's very accurate. Like, I do between the light and the dark. So I'm able to kind of get my vibration to sway, depending on what it is. But I will say is now, like, the light stuff comes in a lot faster than it used to, because at first all I saw was dark. And now that's different. So I've really grown, and resonate with people that have had experiences like me. And people that have had experiences like me keep coming my way. And if you look at my astrology chart, it literally just, most of the astrology chart points to me doing this type of work since birth. And I feel like, when you go through your Saturn return, you are lost. You kind of don't know what you want to do, or something traumatic happens, or something like, devastating that kind of switches your whole life around. This happens between the ages of 27 and 31. And it can, it's because Saturn takes a while to move, because it's an outer ring planet. So if anybody can relate to that, that's kind of what I went through. And people will go, yeah, exactly. And
yeah.
It's a prime example of like the coming of age, or getting into the second part of your life. And that happens again when you're around the age like 56 to 60. So it's something we have to do twice. Yeah. But yeah, now,
and a lot of people, they can take from that and awaken from it, or they can go the other direction. So there's two ways that they can go. They can either step into their power and do something with what happens to them, or they sometimes go the other direction.
You're 100% correct. Yeah. And there's times in our life when, we're always given a choice, but what's meant to happen is going to happen, and either way, if there's something destined to happen, no matter which way you get there, it's going to happen. But we still do have free will, and we still do have a choice. And that's really important to mention. It's like when you have these big, profound moments in life, just like you were saying, you have to follow that discernment and that gut and take it. It's a lot. It's a lot to deal with when you're that age, especially if you have a family and you start having kids and all that kind of stuff. And then you get smacked with like a haunting, something's, in my opinion, was very, very dark. Almost, I'm pretty sure demonic. And I don't just throw that around lightly. There's so many other things in between, but now my abilities range from, so in order of, I guess you could say my strongest to my like weakest, I guess you could say, would be claircognizant, clairvoyant, empathic, clairsentient, and clairaudient. I only hear clairaudient things very briefly, or at night when I'm in between, but the thoughts come in kind of like, I hear the thoughts, but they're not sound, so that makes them different. So that's kind of what I do now.
Thoughts are clairsentient.
So you think it's clairaudient?
Clairaudient. Yes,
Okay.
thoughts are clairaudient. That's how I hear.
Okay.
I don't
That
hear
makes
like
sense.
voices. They're just a random thought. Sometimes they can be voices, but that's still clear audience if they're popping in that way.
I knew there was a link between it, like like with the clairaudient and the claircognizant, so your clear thinking. But yeah, the clear thinking I've had, and it must have gotten stronger over the last, I'd say, year for me, because I hear the thoughts now. I don't just
Yeah.
think the thoughts, and there's a separation. I'll go ahead and say this: there's a separation when you are intuitive. Everybody has, like Rachelle said, everybody has abilities. Everybody has like the ability to sense something intuitively. It's just some people have a stronger connection than others, and you can work on it. But really, when you're dealing with like just life in general, you have three different like voices technically in your head. You have your own thoughts, you have I call divine whispers, and then what I call influence thoughts. And influence thoughts are the ones that are kind of placed there, whether it is your own subconscious or something else kind of making you, talk like, I suck, nobody loves me. I'm horrible at this. And like, that's really big about when you start to develop your own abilities to really try to understand that. And that's what I tell people. But in a nutshell, that is my origin story. I tried to do it as fast as I could. So
no, it's interesting. But what's interesting too is that around 30 was the time that I dealt with my demonic thing. And it was when I was coming into my gifts as well. So I find it interesting that it tends to happen when we're opening up and they recognize that we're opening up. But I think mine came from my husband. I think he had something attached to him just because of where he was at prior to that. And it seems like once I awakened and I learned more and I went back and looked at pictures, it's like I could see it in the pictures.
Yeah.
But
it was like, I'm seeing what you're saying. It's like a duplicate version of him, but dark shadow, like misty. I don't know. That's what I see.
My mom could not go to the house because my mom's very sensitive. So she never liked to come to my house. Even like when he wasn't there, it made her sick. She couldn't go there. I didn't have the problem with it, but she just couldn't go there. And I don't know if it was the house. I don't know if it was something that came with him and stayed. It was really weird. And the only time that I had anything with it was I was sleeping, and I had been opening up at this point, and I had been talking to someone specific, and they had been helping me open up and learning how to channel Jesus and all of that kind of stuff. And so I was, and this was after my husband had already passed. He was already gone. And I was sleeping, and all of a sudden it was like, you're kind of like half awake, half asleep, but I felt this pain pressure of my wrist being pushed down and me being pushed up in the bed. And I could feel the pain of my wrist and me being pushed up in the bed. And I started praying, praying. And all of a sudden I saw this thing like crawl across the ceiling and down the wall.
Good.
And
No, I'm kidding.
So I got out of bed and I called the lady that I've been working with. I said, what do I do? What do I do? She said, well, you did the right thing. Let's go through and cleanse your house right now, which it didn't really do anything. It kind of probably just, but I ended up leaving before that. I mean, after that, I ended up leaving after that. And, just because I couldn't afford the rent there anymore and stuff. So I did end up leaving, and I tried to clear the place when I left, but I think it followed me.
Yeah, I was about to say if it's like that, it's going to follow you because y'all had a soul connection, and since he had left, it has to stay behind because it's lower vibrational.
So it was from him, wasn't attached to the house. How come it stuck with me when he would leave?
Well, then it might have been. Well, I mean, these things, they transcend through dimensions. They can split apart. They can be everywhere at once. It could have been affected because it's going to attack your marriage. So, if, talking about like super dark things, and I just want to let everybody know that might have some like nervous or anxiety energy. It's totally okay. Just bring in the love and the light. I just wanted to make that a point. Just bring in the loving energy. Don't be scared of this kind of stuff because knowledge is power. Because I don't know.
It'll feed on
it will
here.
Exactly. And if you've been through stuff like this, just know that there's other people that have. Before I get any further into this conversation. So yeah, it has the ability, and like the main thing about a demonic entity is it's going to try to separate your family. It's going to they're smart, they're tricky. I would call it definitely a demonic, but there's so many levels to that it would have to be something further investigated in. But yeah, it could stay with you because you have the brightest light. You have the, it fed off of you. So I would assume at that time y'all were probably fussing and fighting. And I don't mean to get too personal, but this is just assumption.
I think because of the twin flame connection, because I always say when people are twin flames, like we can bring a lot of light, and so therefore the dark seems to attack us. I think that had a lot to do with it, but it was more that it would attack him, make him drink, make him do things like that, because he would try to get sober, and then it was like all of a sudden, his family member would come in or something off would happen, but he would stay sober for a little bit, but it's like I felt like I didn't even know what the hell was going on because at this point I hadn't learned anything yet.
Right. You don't know, and you don't know who to talk to about stuff like that.
And, and then like stuff started happening around my house after my husband passed away, like doors would slam. I would see a shadow, but I was like, is that my husband? Is that like, what the heck? I thought it was my husband. And it happened until I got a reading with my husband, and then it stopped. So it could have definitely been him, like trying to get through, because he was that kind of person, very big, and want to make his presence known.
Right.
But after I moved, I remember I had started becoming a medium. It was literally the first night I ever did a reading, and I heard a growl, and my dog, who was laying on the couch, looked up at the same time as the growl, so she heard it too, and I said, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you absolutely have to.
Because at this point I had been learning more, and I had been kind of understanding, and I mean, after that I did a really, really, really big cleansing, like huge, and I didn't have any more problems. So it was almost me standing in my power. And I mean, I was talking to a shaman at the time, and she told me a bunch of stuff to do, and it seemed to work.
Absolutely. That's all it's about, is standing in your power. Because if you think about it, going back to when like after your husband passed and then you started experiencing this, it was literally like a shadow. It could have been like a shadow aspect of that, but I think it still was separate in a way. But it could have been that your trauma from losing him and then getting that peace and reassurance when you had that reading from you for your husband, it probably, I would assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is generally how it'll happen. It gave you like a peace and a comfort, and like it made you feel okay for the first time. And then that's why I stopped, because it was feeding on that trauma. And that's something, I'll be discussing a little later, is like how these entities feed on pain and hurt and trauma. And then like having a shaman, like you said, is great because they've learned, and like having that extra help, and then you going into your abilities. And when it came back, it doesn't want you to do the type of work that you do, because we all have the ability in a way to sense, but sense energy. That's natural. But your ability, for example, is going to be on a higher level. That way you can actually put a stop to it, and you're going to teach people about this. And that's not what they want. They want to feed on fear. They want to feed on trauma. And that's the biggest thing. Some mediums actually say that the whole trauma, this, that, and you have thought form entities and all that kind of stuff that can come from it. But some mediums don't agree with that. But I have found every one of my clients, they have some type of trauma. And that's the key, is like realizing that trauma and working through it. It's not like you see on the movies when everybody goes like saging and what demon's gone. It's not like that.
No,
it's a journey.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
It's a journey. I mean,
well, things kind of quieted down because it was like I had that reading. I had a lot of answers that I needed, but then I also realized I wanted to be a medium at that point in time, because I wanted to do for others what she did for me. And I was like, this is what I'm supposed to do. It was weird because for my whole life, I didn't know what the heck I was going to do. I was working odd jobs, and there was no passion. There was no nothing. And so I always tell people, like, there comes a point where things shift and change, and then you just get on your soul path, and that's what you're supposed to do. So, 20 years ago, I didn't know I was going to be doing this work, but we
100%.
So I went through my Saturn return, and that's where I am, and that's how I am here now. But really, that's kind of, that was the biggest thing that I remember now. When I was working Delphi, for some reason, I did a lot of astral work, but I was getting pulled on. I was getting, like, there was all kinds of stuff happening that time. Like, I'd fall asleep on the couch, and it was like I was being pulled into a darker realm, and you know, those, you have those sexual ones that try to do things and you can feel certain things, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's exactly why I kind of stopped Delphi, because I was like,
Yeah.
there's something really dark about this case that's causing this, because where else is it coming from? You know, once I
Yeah.
stopped, that stopped.
Right. You had a greater force, and like I know a little bit about I know about that case, and I know a little bit about what you've experienced because you talked to me, but ultimately I'm going to validate this. You had a larger, darker force that was commanded by humans in that situation. And yeah, like if you being newer to it, because I mean you did this what, like 4 or 5, you were still into it, you wasn't new to it, but even like when you touch, when you stare into the abyss, they say it stares back. That's kind of true. Like when you start to go down those pathways and they see you looking for answers and you're capable of getting them, they will stop that. And even at a level of people, like just people, and people sometimes with our intentions, they're much stronger even than the entity, but you have to actually, like, again, stand firm in your power. So
Well,
I mean,
I would say prayers, but literally could not stay in my body during that time. It was
wow.
I could not. Every time I'd fall asleep on the couch, bam. But I wasn't going higher. I was obviously in the lower realms, and I even
Yeah.
had one of my cats was like coming laying on my feet to keep me in my body. It was weird. It was a weird,
Yeah.
weird time. But you know, I always pray through it, and I always try to remain, you know, strong with it. Just like the times that we've talked, we've talked after I did the what case was that, the Texas killing fields.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
nuts. I got
Yeah.
something I haven't told you yet about that, and I swear I'm going to tell you. If you want to talk about that, we can. But if not, I'm telling you after the live. I'm leaving everybody
No,
in suspense. Okay.
since we're on my experiences, I mean, like I said, we'll just go into because that's kind of really the two big ones that I've really had. I really haven't had a lot of major things.
That's
It was
good.
just kind of during my awakening, you know, during my awakening process, and then the Delphi thing. And
Yeah.
then and people always wondered why I stopped. Well, I was too close apparently, or something. There was something else, you know, because obviously something dark made him do what he did, I feel, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I feel he was driven by demons, which is basically what I got in the reading, which is basically then they
Yeah.
started coming after me. But
Yeah.
you know, so when Tammy and I tried to reach into the killing fields and see what was going on there, I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what I was thinking. So I don't even remember what I told you happened.
So what I remember is, and then just to cue you, and I'll let you tell your side if you can remember, but so basically you were in between sleep and awake and you saw something was doing something to you in the bed. Do you remember?
No, it was standing.
Yeah, I think you got didn't you get like held down and something was standing there?
That was a
That was a
different one.
different time.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the different time. This was the when we figured out that was from Tombstone or something, right?
That's
Or
right.
something.
Yeah. No,
So that's
but
a
I
different.
remember. Yeah, I remember the part, but I don't remember how it happened.
I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep, and I
Mm.
had a bunch of animals by me, like protecting me. Because
Yeah.
my cats do that. They tend to come on my chest and protect me. It's their way of protecting me from certain things.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we realized that because I was peeking where I shouldn't have peeked, it decided to come check me out and see what I was doing.
So what I saw, like I did a intuitive reading, and then I kind of do like Rachelle does. I validate it with the cards or different cards or whatever I'm drawn to. I like to validate that reading. And what I saw was a man, and he had like a trench coat on, and he had sunglasses, and he had like a cowboy hat. And it was like, it wasn't necessarily that he was from back in the day. It's like he lived in in our time. He's probably passed now, of course, but like this man was very dark, what I refer to as a descended human spirit. I still think, or it was almost like an echo of a man that something else was pretending to be him, because this was really, really trippy. And this is a little graphic, but nothing that I won't like go too far with. But he had a belt on, and he had chains. He had 4 chains, and there were 4 women in like blindfolds on their knees, and they were nude, and like it was like he was commanding these women That's what I saw. And then I also picked up about the killing fields. It's like a mass energy. Like there's satanic things that's happened out there. It's all, it's deep.
I couldn't even pinpoint like one spirit. There was so many. Now I was getting like bits and pieces of each of them, and it was just so confusing because there's so much there. And
it's like a portal. It's a portal place.
And sometimes like I remote view. So remote viewing, I was remote viewing it. But there's so much in that specific area and around it that bodies that haven't even been found, which I think I was picking up on one that hadn't been found,
Yeah.
That was weird. My dog just took off into the hallway.
I was going to say, when people talk to me and they do interviews, weird shit starts to happen.
Yeah, and my dogs will always pick it up. My dogs, I'm like, they always pick it up. But they always run down the hallway for no reason. Like they're chasing something down the hallway.
Well, I mean, not to go off subject, but when you were giving me my reading, the EMF meter lit up. I saw when I went back and watched, and thanks everybody for the comments. I was so focused on what she was saying, I didn't see y'all asking me questions that day, but the EMF spiked. And I actually saw the man stand, you were getting sleepy and stuff. So I decided I was going to send you some healing energy. And I saw a man go to you and stand behind your chair. And I didn't correlate that until I saw the EMF. So I wonder if that was the spirit we were talking about. But to get back to the killing fields, I just wanted to tell you that.
I mean, it could have been a guide that you were seeing, because people's guides come in when I'm talking. So it's either yours or mine. It's one of ours.
I've never seen him before, but that doesn't mean anything, because I'm not big on who's my guide and what's their name and what's their purpose. All that kind of stuff will come in time. So the folks that really just want to know, just take your time. Just, it's going to come to you. They're there for a reason.
I don't know all mine.
Yeah,
I don't know mine, but we talked about me having a bunch because of the work that I do, or me having a bunch behind me. I think we talked about that. You said I had this whole team of even people I've helped do readings.
I saw your owl. I saw your owl spirit guide. It looks like one of those little cute owls with the white little eyes.
That's it. Yep. That's it.
I saw him. He was flying under the moon. He was so pretty.
Yeah. I see my wolf a lot because it's the one that tends to protect. He's the protector. I went into this haunted house with this guy that had a portal. He didn't care. He had a portal. And the whole time in my mind's eye, I could see my wolf sitting next to me just growling, because there was an entity in the corner, and I got 13 ghost stories off this, but there was a guy in the corner that was that was controlling everybody, and he had a long coat and a black hat, and the wolf was just sitting there just growling at him. And that I'll never forget that, because that was my mind's eye. My wolf was there to protect me, and that's one of the most guides that I work with or understand or know that's there.
Yeah, it's interesting. Oh yeah. I have quite a few animal spirit guides, and I think that's because you're so in tune with the spirit world. And that, going back to what was in the corner, and just to tell everybody else, a lot of times when you have a place that's abandoned, that tends to attract lower vibrational entities of all kinds, and especially places where there's been a lot of death. It actually, this is my personal intuitive opinion, it kind of opens up portals in a way because of the amount of death, but it also harbors super dark entities that can actually trap other entities or other beings rather too, and keep them there. And that's how you get paranormal experiences, whether that is a fraction, because I believe that our higher self still is above, and the part that needed to learn of our soul comes down. And I think as we go through experiences in life, we of course leave pieces of energy behind, but at the same time, I think when something really crazy might happen, traumatic, we actually kind of can create a thought form or an energetic body. And therefore, a thought form entity we actually create, because we're creators, we have the ability to manifest and do all that. And we can do things like this. And that happens. And that's how you may get a haunting. So that's residual energy, for example. So he could be holding residual energy there. It can be holding actual spirits there. Think people that haven't actually crossed over and went into the light. It's all very dependent. It's not everybody. It's not every place, but it is very possible. Back
imprint
to the
too, right?
Yes, basically the imprint and stuff like that. And I just wanted to tell you real quick, in case we're moving from the Texas killing fields, I saw a picture of one of the guys that, I don't know if I could pull it up real fast. If I can, I will. But one of the guys, and I had no friggin' idea. The guy, he had the from the killing field or owned the land, or somebody that was out there, because I don't remember all of it, but he had the freaking sunglasses and the cowboy hat on. Some people in the chat may know, but yeah, he looked like that man, but with a trench coat on. So I don't know if it was that exact man, but if it was something darker that was kind of emanating him that was standing in your room that night. But that place is crazy. That place is wide open.
But I also felt at that time like I had my husband was standing there next to my bed, and I know my wolf was there, but I know there was one other one. So I mean, they always come in to protect in that way.
Absolutely.
And like we were saying, we even have loved ones, or I mean, people that I've helped, right, that are somehow protecting. She told me that. I didn't know that, because I'd always wondered, like, if certain spirits that I helped were then again helping in some way with me. So I
personally feel so, like, how it's like a network. It's like it's almost like spiritual karma, but on a different level. It's like the more you put in, and it's important. It's a good time to say, like, everything we do in the physical is represented in the spiritual energetically. We are energetic bodies. We exist. We are multidimensional beings. It's a beautiful thing. And like, when you start to kind of understand life in that perspective, then this kind of stuff can start making a lot more sense. And it's a lot, but when it's your time, because everything has a time and a purpose and a place, then that's when, you'll become more enlightened. And like, I've noticed something about the younger generation. I'd say the kids that are, like, I say kids, but they're adults, like 15 years younger than me. They're so much more self-aware. Like, they're so much more self-aware than we were in like the 80s and the 90s. We were just chilling, but I think it's like the internet and all that crazy stuff, but they are coming into their abilities quicker, I've noticed, than people of my generation, or even like, 'cause me and you are pretty close. Like, we're in the same, probably the same gen. So, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great things, and I don't want to devalue the fact that we do have our spirit guides, we do have our divine team, we do have protection, and I generally use personally different methods, but mainly if I have something really bad, I use it all in Jesus' name, because outside of the Bible and all that stuff, and if you've read it and if you resonate with it, like, I don't proclaim to be a Christian. I'm more of like an eclectic spirituality type person, I guess you could say, but he was the OG demon slayer, guys. So if you ever have any problems with negativity, like, and what I found, it generally nips it in the bud.
Him and Archangel Michael.
Yeah, exactly. And that's who I work with. I still do, but not as much, since I've got to the point where, like, my guides and we can handle it, but I still always ask for divine guidance. We can't do any of this. And I want to reinstate, or just like kind of resonate with you and like reinforce this. We cannot do any of this without divine guidance at all. We can't, and we can't even really take a whole lot of credit for what we do. We're just the vessel for this type of work. And it's true. Like, it's so true. And people, it kind of disheartens me to see people get in their ego and their pride, and they're like, oh, I got this answer and I got that. Well, yeah, but just remember, though, it all comes from above, and it's a beautiful thing. Like, I'm not all about darkness and all that kind of stuff. I read that kind of stuff. I've experienced that kind of stuff, but yeah. So.
I just want to talk about this, how Ray's talking about the generations disconnected with their spiritual side. I think kind of the younger generation is, but if you look at the spirituality of how it's changed, back in the 50s, you don't talk about this. You don't do this stuff. We've evolved so much, and that's in all different ages. But remember, soul's ageless. The soul is genderless. The soul is just a soul. And so I think that we're all here at this point in time to awaken, become more aware of what's on the other side, because look, now we have these mediums that are famous now. Freaking 20 years, you don't do that, so I think
that stones thrown at you.
Yeah, you get stones thrown, you get burned at the stake. It's like one of those things where we are more aware of what's around us. Yes. Our kids are out of control and shooting things up and stuff like that. That this goes beyond that. This is more like everyone is open as a whole, like now you can talk about this stuff. Now you have mediums doing readings for, that are freaking famous and all of that kind of stuff. Like we didn't have that back then, you know. So we have evolved spiritually in opening and understanding, because then you also have all these people that have had these near-death experiences and things like that talk about it. So we are more open to learning and things like that. Of course, you're going to have the lower vibrational. I mean, you have the good with the bad and everything. Of course, you're going to have the low vibrational people, but we do have more people that are more open and awakened than they used to be. I hope that makes sense.
It does, 100%. And the only thing I'd like to add to that is if anybody's familiar with the spiritual revolution back in the mid 1800s, it aligned with a certain astrological transit between, I believe, Jupiter and Neptune. And they actually conjuncted, which means they passed each other in the sign of Pisces, which is the 12th house. Pisces is like represented by the ocean. It's, you know, the watery sign. It represents like all that subconscious and connection with divine. This happened during I think it was 1860 something or whatever. It only happens about every 140, 160 some years. We actually just had that transit because, you know, Neptune is a slower moving planet. So it takes a while to go around the whole entire sky, you know. So, but we just had that happen on was it April 12th, 2022. So many more people in the last, like you're saying, in the last year have come online, and we've had a literal another spiritual revolution, because if you look at it in astrological standpoint, it's just like when the big P or the pandemic happened. I call it the big P because it used to be, you know, like you couldn't talk about it, but yeah, you know how that went. But so pretty much on YouTube you get canceled, it's over, you know. But so the day that they released the information about the big P, they actually had a huge astrological transit, and they knew something, like astrologers knew something was going to happen, because I've worked under a really cool astrologer. She's a older lady, but she's very knowledgeable, and her name is Cassandra Joan Butler. She's friggin' amazing. That's where I learned how to read somebody's chart and identify like their intuitive abilities and stuff like that, which I've been working on astrology. I actually picked it up when I was 12, but I kind of dropped it, picked it up, dropped it. Now I'm like in it to win it, and it's like a lifelong thing. But point is, yeah, we've had like a lot of astrological things happen for this all to come together. It's cool as all to me. But
and now where Pluto is going into Aquarius, which means you're going to see a lot of things come out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a time where there's going to be a lot of secrets are being revealed and things like that. That's the big part. And it is known for the big P word. But so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And it's a 20-year cycle, or 22 years or something like that.
It's 20 years. And like, I've had visions about this, but you go ahead. I don't know if you were done, but I agree with you. I won't say anything else because I tend to. So.
All good. No, I was just thinking about the entity that we talked about at Cochise. The coat. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was I kept being drawn to this. No one ever went in there. Like none of the paranormal investigators, anybody ever wanted to go in there. They just wanted to be in the hotel, and the hotel didn't really feel that haunted. But when I went in there, like it was like a building on the outside of the hotel. It was so heavy and so dark, and like I was like, okay, we're gonna stay here. But then the lady spirit pulled me out. So yeah, remember we were talking about that?
Yep, I remember, because what I channeled in that day, and me and you were able to, this was one of the cases like me and you kind of just talked about and collabed on, not just behind the scenes, you know, in chat. And what I picked up was that lady was murdered by the man she was running from. And she showed me her sitting at the bar there and having one of those skirts and like crossing her legs. And as she did it, she ruffled her like your dress up, and she showed me that she was a lady of the night. That's kind of how I picked that up. And then, he actually, I think, was caught and hung. I would love to find out if that's true, if there's any way, but I feel like this guy did that to a lot of females. And she was trying to like put him on blast. But eventually this guy, whether he was hung for murders or not, he showed me a rope around his neck, and like him and like this, he almost had this alien. He had like these really sucked in cheekbones and like these big eyes, the way he looked in spirit, another hat and kind of like that. But we were out in the Wild West. Like it was nuts.
I mean, we're out where like, you know, all that stuff happens. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess that's it for my experiences.
Okay.
All right, so you can go into and talk about whatever it is you want to talk about.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep this brief, but I just wanted to kind of pull in a little bit of information, things that we've actually discussed in the podcast, but in general, like just kind of how people become haunted. So really, there's three main ways that people can experience a haunting. You're either a haunted person, you're in a haunted place, or you have a haunted object that you're in connection with. Okay. So if you're, for us, like, and I say us because me and Emily, we both kind of helped like create this, but I feel it's very valid to state a haunted person, for example, probably would be somebody like me. And I put this up as kind of like it says haunting over here, but you know, whatever. So, and it's not necessarily a bad, when we're talking in terms of like paranormal stuff, just to make sure that I'm clear on this. And not talking about all of spirituality when I say this. This is just paranormal related. Like, I started having issues everywhere I went. So I had, you know, intuitive abilities, latent intuitive abilities I didn't even know about. And that kind of made me more drawn, like, again, where the bright light in the dark room, to things. Then you can go places. You can go places like Rachelle was just talking about, and actually pick up something that kind of a piece of it leaves with you, and you can become haunted by the place you live in, which generally, unless it follows, it's strong enough to do that, you can actually leave that place and you might not have another paranormal experience your whole life. But it tends to be when you accept the fact that you have paranormal experiences, you tend to pick up on them more throughout your life anyways. But that's the thing. And then a haunted object. Haunted objects are really interesting. True blue haunted objects, and I'm talking about malevolent kind. I'm not going to get in because me and Rachelle were talking about this, about the doll and
They're
stuff.
not haunted. They're not haunted.
Yeah, I don't think they're haunted either.
They don't do anything. They don't do anything. They're boring.
I don't. Yeah, I think maybe I'll hold that for a later conversation because I got something to tell you. We're going to talk about things like the Annabelle. Okay, the Annabelle. I met the
I don't
Annabelle.
want the negative ones, just a positive one that like does some stuff around my house. That's it.
Right. It's like, can you sweep the floor a little bit? Like, it's a little dusty. You know? Just kidding.
Can you make my cat ball go off? Damn it, no one does.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh man. But yeah, like real deal haunted objects, like the most famous one besides like Robert the Doll is Annabelle. I went to the very first Paracon up in Connecticut and was like this far away from the real Annabelle. I didn't really feel a whole lot around Annabelle, but I did in the thing next to it, right? Like it was just staring at me. Like, I don't even know. Look back at the pictures. I saw eyeballs in it, and it might have had eyeballs, like fake ones, of course, you know, but I can't see it in the pictures that we took. So I'm trying to like go ahead and find that. But this thing was creepy. It was the witch. So we're talking about the things from the Warrens Occult Museum. They had several items. You know, a lot of people know the history and everything about that type of haunted object. Well, all was gravy. I actually met her on Halloween in 2021. So it was pretty epic, and you know, the work and the stuff that I do. But if anybody knows the story of Annabelle, it causes sometimes for people to have car troubles or accidents. And if y'all are kind of familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about, like wrecks and stuff. People have actually passed from like seeing the doll and 2 hours later or passed away because of a car wreck. Well, we were on our way back from Connecticut. It was a 15-hour drive. We were just crossed over our state line. There's a lot more to the story, but I'm just going to keep it right here with the whole Annabelle thing. We crossed over and it's 2:00 in the morning. I'm doing 70 in the fast lane. I'm like, woo, we like 45 minutes from home. I'm ready to lay in my bed, girl. I'm like ready to go. Let's do this. There's 2 boxes in the middle of the road that were like perfectly spread out to hit my tires, and they had prongs on them. I had no time to stop. I couldn't swerve. I couldn't do anything. We're in a rental car. I hit them SOBs literally head on, and it bends the rim. And I'm not like, I haven't had anything on my record driving. Like, this just was a freak accident. Luckily, we didn't wreck because, I mean, I'm doing 70 at this point. I didn't even have time to brake. They come up that fast. And when we pulled over, we figured out like we had to change the tire. Luckily, it was just one. That's when we got surrounded by like these spirits, and we had my fiance decided to bring back some dirt from outside. I know everybody's probably like, why did you do that? I mean, we about had a knockdown drag out over it because I wasn't okay with it, but you know, let him do his own thing. He's grown, you know. He had went outside of the cemetery gates from where Ed and Lorraine were born, like all out of the cemetery, but on the same ground. And he had put graveyard dirt in a cup because he wanted to make like pendants out of it and stuff. And I'm like, this isn't a good idea. This is not a good idea. Well, that stuff spilt out. And when that happened, like we were surrounded by this dark presence, and I wasn't happy about it. And as he was jacking the car up and trying to put the wheel on, I see like a 10-foot tall, like 5-foot wide being, not quite being of light, like, you know, radiant light, but I see like it's in white. And I look at V and I'm like, something's getting ready to, and before I could even say anything, the car fell right on him. Like not on him, but like this far away from him. It fell. As soon as I saw that 10-foot tall being, to me, it wasn't a malevolent being. It was a benevolent one trying to warn me. It was almost like the car was pushed from behind. It was wild. And then everything else. So on the way home, before we got home, we stopped at a graveyard and I'm like, I don't care. We can't drive 15 hours. We're putting that in the ground and we're going to say we're sorry. And we're going to put like, you're going to say you're sorry. And you're going to put like these, I had some stones and I had some sage with me and I have my travel pack. I ain't going nowhere. And that trip was wild. If y'all are ever interested in hearing anything about this story, it's on the podcast. Eventually I'll tell it too on my channel, but I tell a lot of these stories more in depth on the podcast. So definitely check it out if you're interested in hearing them. We have entertainment, but it's a lot of educational stuff. So that was kind of my, haunted objects story. Basically, haunted objects are weird. They don't actually exist within the doll. They exist around the doll and they like to have their own space and all kinds of stuff. And it can get really deep and it can be something really dark, or it can be just residual energy, just like a haunted place. It could be residual energy and it's not that bad, but then some places aren't. Or the haunted person, kind of like me, dealing with stuff, you have to learn how to protect yourself. And that's part of my work. So possible things that can actually bring, because I'm looking at my notes, so I make sure I get this all right. So the possible like actions and experiences that can attract lower vibrational entities are past traumas, big events like traumatic events or big life changes, like even a marriage, because people can actually bring in darker energy and spirits in from bloodlines. Like you can have somebody that had action, you know, did things. I'm trying to use something like somebody that committed murder, for example, that can bring in that, and that entity attaches to the bloodline all the way down, because like I said, these things can't leave with you when you pass. Wherever you go, they can't leave. Also visiting haunted locations. We just talked about that. Wrong place, wrong time. Sometimes you're just meant to experience that. Communicating with spirits. Okay, so if you're not, let me take a sip of this. If you're not comfortable communicating with the dead and you feel scared or you just don't have any experience, in my personal opinion, I don't recommend doing it. People that have, you know, people who are stronger in their faith and people that understand how this works. And I'm not trying to make anybody any less or any more. I'm just being honest. I don't recommend doing spirit boxes or Ouija boards unless you have experience doing them. I prefer to stay away from Ouija boards, but I understand that certain people, that's kind of like what they do. And if they're comfortable doing it and everything's fine, that's fine. But not everybody really, they're not a toy. They are literally you become a portal for the energy, and it literally is moving it through you. So they can attach to you, and it's not necessarily like they always go inside of you. You have a magnetic field with your aura from your chakras and all that. And this thing extends out. We don't know how far. Some people may be further than others, and they actually attach themselves to your energy like that. And it don't have to be the whole thing. It can be just a piece of it. Like I said, these things are transcending time here, you know. So moving on, let's see. Latent psychic abilities and mediumship. You're going to pick up spirit activity. Passed away people that are earthbound will come visit you sometimes when you deal with that kind of stuff. And then astral travel. Sometimes you can see some crazy stuff in that. And then certain rituals and practices. Like if you're trying to summon something, it's actually really hard to summon something properly, and you can open up a portal and let all that kind of crazy stuff go. And then you have, I don't have too much more, by the way. You have like lower vibrational entities. And just as an example, you have like fallen angels. They say, you know, this is all up to interpretation. I'm not saying this is like the way, but this is just how we've taught people, like fallen angels, devils, demons. You got shadow people, you have interdimensional extraterrestrials, cryptids, poltergeists, human created entities, like, and it's all on a vibrational scale. It all exists. And you would want to think like being grounded and level with earth is how I view like the midpoint. And then it goes down in like vibrations and dimensions and all that kind of craziness. But that's kind of how spirit has related it to me. That's where you get into like how to identify if you're having communication from a lower vibrational entity. They communicate a lot of times between the awake and asleep state, or they communicate through like activity in your home, or if they're actually communicating with you and you're intuitive, you'll hear it in your head coming in as an intrusive thought. They might say, you know, you might start having these feelings out of nowhere, just like being worthless and angry and stuff like that, or you'll have crazy visions, especially if you're intuitive and you close your eyes and you start to see images that get real like crazy real fast. That's how they communicate sometimes. I have that happen to me.
That's why we were confused about what happened to me that one night, because I couldn't tell if it was negative or not, because I was just seeing a knife over and over stabbing with blood on it. And I said it reminded me of Idaho 4, but I didn't get any other information. I had to pray for it to go away because I didn't understand if it was a negative entity giving it to me or something else. Because there are times where I do have, sometimes it's once in a great while, I have certain thoughts and I just get out of here. Like I'm able to recognize it, you know, but with that, I couldn't tell if it was a vision for the future because it was it was just that. It was nothing else. Or if it was a lower entity. So that's why I contacted you. I was like, I can't go to sleep. What do I do?
Yeah, and all I got from it the only thing I picked up from it is it's going to be in the future. Like I felt it was predictive, 100% prophetic, but we just didn't know how it was going to come in. It was going to be a case or something that you either come across or you worked on, but I knew it felt futuristic, like it hadn't happened yet. And I think it come in the way it come in, and it come in so strong. It could have very well come in from a neutral place. Like you have neutral entities, you have darker entities, but it's interesting that it kept happening over and over because it's not like you could do anything about it. It's not like you could go find this kid, you know, for it to continually be like there. It's really weird. It's really weird.
I wasn't given any other information other than the knife and the feeling of Idaho, but and for me, I was like, okay, I get it now. And so I prayed for it to go away, which I usually don't have to do that. So it kind of threw me a little bit, but I'm wondering if it was possible that I was picking up on the consciousness of the person that was going to commit it, because it was about the week before, which the one that we think it was the one in UC Davis.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
So I'm just wondering if I was picking up on his consciousness of him about to do that act, you know, that could have been it, and that's negative. I just don't understand where it came from. That's one of those things. But you talking about the repeating, you know, or you talking about like the negative visions, you know, that's kind of what made me think about that. Like,
yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of hard for me to even discern like where it would have come from. But if it's like, this is one thing me and Rachelle were talking about too, and this is part of like being able to see entities, like either whether it's in your mind's eye with your eyes open or closed, or in visions when you're like half asleep or whatever else. For me personally, anything that is ascended that comes from a divine place, is it always in color? So this is how spirit's done it for me. It's generally in color, or it might have like a fuzzy white light to it or something like that. Earthbound spirits, and I've had something in between, like where I see something in color, but it's actually in blackness, surrounded by blackness. Because a lot of times when I connect with things that are of the light, they actually, like I said, they come in with a background and like an image. Like when I connected to your grandfather that one time, he come in full color, you know, with just like a hazy, you know, white background. But yeah, darker things, they come in pitch black, and they come in the forms of white, black, and gray for me.
I only see behind them. Like I'll see behind them black, like if they're lower astral. Like when Ted was in the dark, I would see behind him, you know, behind him dark. And I've only had that happen a couple times, and everybody else has been in the light. And then when he crossed, he was in the light. So that's how I see him. I still see him kind of, but it's like they're standing in the dark, but there's still color.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, and it's a little different. It's fair enough to say that, you know, we're all different. We all experience things different ways. And I mean, that's the way that you and spirit work together. And that's really cool, because I've seen that. I've seen how they're in color, but they're still in the dark. And that's something I'm personally still trying to figure out. So maybe that gave me some answers, like somebody that's kind of on the verge, that's wanting to cross over. Somebody that comes in color in the dark is somebody that wants to cross over, that's looking for help.
That might be it. I just got the chills with that. That might be it. Because the first reading, he wasn't, I don't know. I didn't see him that clearly. And then it was like, then I would see him in the, you know, with the dark behind him. But then after he crossed, it was completely different.
Yeah, I agree with that. And when I see earthbound spirits or they're either earthbound spirits or low vibrational descended human spirits, they are in black, white, and gray, all the outlines. And then anything that's like that, they cut, or if it's demonic, I'll see it like that, but then I'll see it with hints of red or color. But it all comes through the dark. And the thing is, like, I see all kinds of stuff, and generally I still see more darker stuff because of the work that I do. But I see it with my eyes open or closed. A lot of times it's when I'm just chilling, because I'm awful about meditating, but I meditate in other ways. Okay. I'm just awful.
It's not about clearing your mind and going, anyways.
Nope.
It's not really like that.
No, it comes.
People, and the guided meditation is actually better, because especially for people with busy minds, because your mind is busy following the guided meditation. But those ones that are just like, I can't do them. I can't do them.
No. And there's only certain times that I can chill out enough, because the thing that me and Rachelle have in common when it comes to astrology and stuff is she is an Aquarius and I'm a Gemini. So we're both air signs. So we're constantly like, you know, our thoughts are constantly racing. Like, we can't help that. Whether I call this my crack water, y'all. Look, if they want to sponsor me or Rachelle, y'all do it. Okay.
That's so funny. Didn't you get that from me? Because one night I was drinking Celsius and I was like, Celsius.
Yeah, I call it my crack water. It gets me going.
I'm drinking C4 now. I like C4 now. But anyways, I didn't mean to take you off track of what you're talking about with it just made me think about that
it's
vision
perfect.
I had and we were trying to figure out if it was dark or not, because that's not a good vision. So it's one of those things like, did that come from the dark? Where did it come from? You know, why wouldn't it go away?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if it's in the dark and you're seeing it in the light, like, there's something special about that. Yeah, for sure. Like, there's something about it.
It wasn't really in the dark. I mean, it was like I was trying to go to sleep and I just kept seeing, but I mean, the knife, blood, everything was in color.
Yeah. Maybe we're going to have to look into that a little more, like, and kind of dissect it, because I would like to, because it could help us further, like, understand what we're seeing when we see stuff like that.
I really think it was his consciousness. I really do. Because it was like, a week before it happened or something like that. It was really close to it happening. And I think it was just his, because sometimes when people have those negative thoughts and they're thinking about doing something, us in the ether, we can pick that up. If it's really, really strong, like, that's why I always tell people, like, I can read minds. If you guys pick that, if you guys put a lot of strong stuff up in the chat, like what happened with Idaho 4, I'll pick it up and not even read the chat. Like, we can do that. We can pick up that stuff, especially air signs. We're mind readers.
Yeah, I do that quite often myself. And it's interesting, because I finish people's sentences and I don't mean to. Like, I'm not trying to be rude. I just can't shut the fuck up. Like, it comes out. I can't help it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's just what it is.
I think it might have been his consciousness, and it was just so strong of what he was feeling that's why I picked it up. Maybe what he was even thinking of doing. That's the only thing I can think of. You know?
I think you're on a good track, because when you sent me that link and I saw that kid, he was so disassociated. Like, this is my intuitive impression. He's so disassociated with, like, reality, and that he was so focused on, like, doing the right thing, and it comes from childhood trauma. Like, and I'm going to say right now, whatever's going on with him, his parents constantly pushed him to like do the right thing, and you got to be this and you got to be that. He obviously could have had, even, I'm getting a multiple personality, like a slight multiple personality thing where he switches back and forth. And then when whatever happened to him, like the only thing I did here is he got kicked out of school or something. And when that happened, and then his like perfect disassociative world just crunched like a can, he flipped. That's what I felt. But
do you think there was anything that attached to him to help him do that? Or do you think it's all dissociative personality kind of thing?
There's a fine line right there. And I will say that I lean
Same
more
thing with schizophrenia, right? It's a fine line.
Yes, there's a fine line. I think since you got that vision, and this is how I'm just thoughts really intuitively, I feel like something more than likely is always behind the actions that we do, because we know that light and dark have to exist for us to learn, right? So I think that there is a part of that had something to do with it, and a part of it comes from not being able to like work through your own feelings. But I truly think a lot of people that have like schizophrenia, sometimes they have darker attachments, or they have abilities that they don't understand. It's not every case. I don't want to devalue anybody's mental health. I have my own mental health things that I have to go through. Like, I thought I was crazy when I started doing this. And it took me working with people and getting like the right answers and stuff. I'm like, okay. And then learning how to read my astrology chart on my own, like really well, to know that I'm not crazy. Like, we have to value what we feel, and take it to heart. But at the same time, we want to be in a healthy space when we do this kind of stuff. And that's leading to like doing the type of work that I do. When you start on your spiritual journey, you can really like get out there real fast if you're not careful. You have to actually ground yourself, because then you start looking. What worries me is like some people start looking for signs everywhere. Like, oh my God, I saw 1111 17 times in the last 3 days, and then 2 crows flew by the sun, and I knew that I needed to do this. No, please don't do that. Don't do that, because take your signs and your cues from spirit and use your own discernment. That is a gift that we have. We all have the gift of discernment and gut. But just kind of like, just remember, like, if you're new to this, I know a lot of people probably aren't, but a lot of you may be. Just remember that everything happens for a reason, and there are times that we have these signs and these things and stuff like that. But don't let yourself get too far. And I'm guilty of that, like especially at the beginning when I was learning. But that's just a good time to say that too. But yeah, I mean, physical touch and pain, I'm going to get back to how they associate. Yeah, physical touch and pain, and then actually having like emotional outbursts and having like emotional things happen. And it has a lot to do with like repressed emotions. And this is where they have the stronghold and they can mess with you and stuff like that. But like, you can actually go from being perfectly fine to like, and then you're like, going down somebody where you don't really know why. You don't even know why. So again, like, you can have visions and all kinds of stuff of good and bad things. But like, if they're coming at you, bro, if these things are coming at you, bro, you're going to have some of these things. So intrusive thoughts versus your own. You can have visions, astral experiences, nightmares, dreams, physical touch, pain in your body if you're clairsentient. You'll have that. Sometimes they give you something, if you're being spiritually attacked by something negative, generally negative. It's not always, but if it comes on strong, if anybody's ever had an anxiety attack, I've had a panic attack or two in my life, but until I started doing this work, I've never had a anxiety attack out of absolutely nowhere. And it took like holy oil and crystals and laying down on them and just to kind of like chill out. And there was nothing wrong with me. I actually got spiritually attacked that way. And that's another thing of this type of work you have to be careful with. You have to be really strong in your belief, your own personal faith, your guides and stuff. Like, bad things they can make things happen. Just like I think with the Annabelle, even to this day, y'all, look, even to this day, me and Emily worked with Where the Weird Ones Are and did a thing and talked about Annabelle. And I said that stuff was all effed up. It was just an effed up situation. Kevin's Siri picked up and said, what did it say? It said, that wasn't nice. Nobody said Siri, and he had to say Siri to say it. This literally happened right after I started talking about Annabelle. When you have really strong things, it's like, as you push these things away from you and you get them out of your life, they can still be at a distance. They can still be way far away from you, and that's a blessing. That's what you want. But just bear in mind, like working through these issues, like with my client that y'all probably know, Beth's a sweetheart. She's in the process of moving this energy away from her. She's in the process of dealing with that those some types of visions and stuff between sleep and awake. But is she having the problems anymore like she was? No. And I won't speak any more about it because that's her story to share. But I will say that she's doing really good. So I know that y'all kind of knew about that, and she became more of a friend than just a client. She's doing fantastic. She's open to learning. She's open to taking the advice, and she's putting in the work.
But what's crazy about that too is like when she came on and asked the question, because that's how it started, was she came on and asked the question, and I told her that it was demonic and what I was seeing and all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to get a hold of Chastity so Chastity can help you release it, because it's more than just holy water, sage, prayer. It's a lot of inner work as well, and becoming strong and letting go of all that trauma that what's attached to. It's becoming stronger than the dark energy, right?
Absolutely.
And so I was like, I need to get her with her, because that's what she goes in. But whatever I saw was correct.
It was. You saw the teeth. You saw the smile, kind of like that. It was crazy. It was nuts, because that's what I saw at first too. And then as I pushed past that darkness, I saw something that looked kind of like the mix between a troll and a goblin kind of thing. And actually finding like she worked with somebody else to come cleanse her house, and finding out what they think it is kind of lines up with everything that happens to her, and even the pictures that I drew, my little like pictures, you know. But I mean, it worked though. It does.
But she was so emotional. Like, she ended up here for a reason. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Like, I feel like she ended up here for a reason. She found me for a reason, and I knew you for a reason. Like, there's a reason for that. Whether it was the prayers she put out or whatever she did, she just needed a little bit of help. And I told her she needed to get a shaman, and you did too. So, you know, at least she's doing better. And
and working together, like, and us having that connection, because I send you people, you send me people, and it's, you know, we all individually as mediums, we have our own strengths, and it's not even about weaknesses or anything like that. It's just we all have our own like groove, you know. And it's cool, like, when we can come together and like work together, because a lot of the community, not a lot of the community, but some of the community is like not like that. You know what I mean? Like they get a little,
I know what you mean. They're a little lower vibrational, ego driven, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's the question that I have sometimes. It's like, if you're lower vibrational and you're driven by your ego, then where are you actually getting your intuitive information from? Because guess what? It can come from the dark just as good as it can from the light, but the light is always better.
Yeah.
I think about that too when you find mediums and stuff. Like, you really need to do your research on the people that you want to communicate with, because they could be getting their stuff from a source that's not a divine place. So
yeah, because the way that spirit shows things, it's never in a way to scare you, or you know, it's not overly graphic. It's not it should come from, it's come from a higher place. And so if you feel a certain if you feel a draw or a pull to someone, it's usually for a reason. Because, you know, us as mediums, and we're in the right work, we have to have that pull to people. Like, people have to be drawn to us for them to trust us to give the message. So if you're not drawn to someone, or you don't really like their energy, there's a reason for that. Because there are lower vibrational light workers. With my air quotes.
I mean, that's the nicest, that's the nicest way to say it. And I mean, it's not that I'm personally trying to be cruel or like unfair or unjust. I'm just saying from experience. Like, one of my clients, she actually had she was on TikTok, and she had a medium like have something next to her that was dark and kept interfering with her live. And I'm not going to say who or anything, but the client said that, she said, "I'm sorry, that might be me. I'm going through something." And then that medium literally like kind of went off on her and made her feel really about this big. And she's like, "Thanks for ruining my life." And then she's like, "Well, if you're wondering if it's a demon, it's not a demon." And Rachelle kind of said it was a demon, and I kind of did too. It's kind of like a demonic elemental. So now I gave it away, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like, this lady just kind of let her have it, you know, and people can't really help. It's not like she meant to do that, but the way that person handled it told me if that's the first thing that come out of her mouth, then she's probably not the best person to be talking to about it. And it's not that my client was, it was just, that's how she come across, you know, and that's not right. In this type of work, you know, it's hard sometimes to be patient because we have to realize not everybody has the same understandings that we do. And we really have to try to like bring our, and it's not like a, like I'm a better than you thing when I say this. Please don't take it that way. It's a vibrational thing. We actually have to kind of like come back to our roots to be able to help people, because once you get so far in this, it's just, it changes. It's different and in a good way. So but yeah, so I think the only other thing, like I said, I've done a lot of this in really short ways. Like we go into explanations on my channel, on my podcast and stuff, if you want to learn more. But the last thing that I'll kind of say
one second.
Take your time. Sure.
I don't know what's going on here.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, they're used to it. I don't know. That my deaf dog is just acting really weird.
Yeah, well, it's kind of making me, it's not making me feel weird as in like, but like it's interesting because I'm getting ready to tell people how they can help like kind of get rid of stuff, like in a very loose way, but ways that they can actually do that. So it's actually very interesting. You can always ask for divine guidance, whoever the God of your understanding, the creator, the divine. I personally work with Christ light energy. I work with Archangel Michael. I work with my guides. I work with benevolent beings only. That's just my personal choice. Some people choose to see things differently. That's just me, and that's okay. I don't have anything against anybody that wants to do it their way. So that's just my personal choice. You also have your spirit team, your spirit family, ancestors. You can always pull in that energy. Learn how to protect your energy, yourself. Learn about your chakras. Learn about your aura. Learn about like all of that kind of stuff. It's a journey. It's a learning journey. Whether you're doing it whether you're in it for like having paranormal experiences or you're experiencing positive or negative things, either way, learn about that stuff, guys. Smudging tools, something you need to be careful with. You need to do your research with. Everybody has their own opinion about sage and like who should be using sage or what. Personally, I have a lot of Cherokee in me. Maybe that's why sage works for me and not for other people, but a lot of people do use that. And y'all might know some of the controversy about it. We also have Palo Santo, or I call it Palo Santo, you know, but yeah, you have that and other things like mugwort. You can burn all kinds of herbs and incense and stuff like that. I do work with herb energy myself. So I make like essential oils, candles, roller balls, like all that kind of stuff. And I do metaphysical jewelry too. Not this I actually bought, but we do metaphysical jewelry and stuff with Treasure Tree. So you can protect yourself with stones and, you know, all kinds of things like stuff like that. And I'm getting ready to relaunch all of that. Hopefully, I know my website, I picked a date for it and I'll tell y'all at the end, but that just reminded me because I almost forgot. Master your spiritual routine. If you are somebody that's having issues, either positive or negative or whatever, get your own spiritual routine down. If you're somebody that's like me and Rachelle and you're getting a lot of information, it's best to kind of do a little something every day, whatever form that may be. Some people, it might be in the form of incense or candles or stones or just meditation or prayer. Get your own spiritual routine down. It helps greatly. When I finally got that for myself, yeah, it's definitely important. And then forgiveness. One of the biggest things I like to move past trauma in terms of paranormal stuff and negative things is we're taught that in so many different religions, so many different spirituality practices. Forgiveness is the key to be able to reduce and let go of your trauma and to be able to accept things. And I see Emily's comment. Yes, I feel like I saw something. Are you staring at the hallway or am I flipped?
Yeah,
Rachelle?
no, I am. That's where all
There's
the damn
something. there's something dark in the hallway. That's what Emily's talking about, isn't it, Emily?
She's saying
that's my co-host job.
Yeah, I always get standoffs. I constantly get standoffs. You know, that's why we were talking about I have to have this huge ass army, because it's always like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm pretty much done with everything that I was going to say, but I didn't want to like jump into this. But what Emily was saying, I didn't see it till you threw it up. But yeah, that's why I got kind of quiet, y'all, and I sat here and just kind of closed my eyes because I was seeing it.
This dog tells me, because he can't hear. So what is he barking at? I mean, he barks when he's outside, but that's outside looking at stuff. Like, he's literally, there's nothing in here. I mean, I got some cats doing some stuff down there, but I think he's feeling the energy vibration. I think that's where he's,
it's telepathic.
And maybe, usually like if something's deaf and they have one sense gone, then I think he feels more with his body and feels the change of energy. Actually, that's why I kind of like to have him out here, because he kind of does let me know what's going on, but he's my biggest spirit dog because of that. So yeah, and what I would like, I'm trying to get a package together to send to Rachelle, because she can't burn like smudging and stuff because there are birds and her animals, and that's totally understandable. But I'm making you some spray. I got my spray bottles now that Beth donated to me, and she's such a sweetheart she's actually donated a couple items to me to help me get my stuff up and running for my website. But I'm going to send you some moon water spray with like some stuff in it like we talked about, to be able to help clear out that energy, because when you do the type of work that we do, it's important to try to keep your space like clear, because we're constantly pulling in all kinds of stuff, and it can actually kind of create an energy ball. Like, I know this sounds really weird, but like space that's thicker than the others, it kind of makes things thicker. And so we're going to try to get the standoffish dude gone. I used to do like saltwater spray with like cinnamon and stuff like that. I just haven't gotten the stuff to do it.
I'm going to take care of that for you, because I think it's a great idea.
But I just think that, I mean, I think it's because we're talking about them and they like it. Anytime you talk about something, you bring it in. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, and in general, just spiritual cleansing is a good thing. And I'm not trying to like say anything bad. Please don't think that. I'm just saying, in general, if you do spiritual energy, definitely try your best and within your means. We all have our own set of means and stuff like that. Just try to do it. It's really important, because like I still feel things like that, chick. Like sometimes I still feel things standing over in the corner watching me. Like, I still see things in my house. No, it doesn't matter how much I cleanse. And I'm an intuitive person. I see things that actually aren't existing in my home, or not actually present in my home. They actually are for my cases. So I see things with my eyes wide open in my mind's eye. Another ability, I remote view. Like, I can remote view to people's places. And it's so weird though. Like, Tammy vanished and forgotten. I did this for her, but everything, I don't know why it's like this, but everything I do, almost everything is in reverse. It's almost like a mirror. It's so friggin' weird. But I did that
sometimes that happens to me too. When I remote view, sometimes I'll want to go one way, but it's actually supposed to be the other. Like it's more mirrored. Yeah. So sometimes
it's interesting, isn't it?
And whenever we clear, it's all about intention, right? So it's not just like you wave sage around. Yes, for clearing, but if you're trying to get rid of like something dark, it's more than that. Like, you have to do the deep spiritual, like the deep self work to get rid of it and be stronger than it. It's not like I'm just gonna wave sage and the thing's gonna leave. Like, it doesn't work like that.
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. I mean, you have to have intentions, and you have to do it the right way. And very briefly, you want to start in the back of your house and move out your front door, or the door you use as your front door. If you have a upstairs and a downstairs and no basement, you want to start furthest upstairs, and you want to line outline your room, like draw the walls out with the sage, draw around your doors, say your blessing, your own blessing, or find one online. Windows, I seal this energy way, this gateway or doorway with, I personally say with the love of Jesus Christ, or that's just me, and I use different stuff. I've just found it works the best for me. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh, when that thing was attacking me in my bed, I said, I rebuke you about 1 million times. That's what you do. I mean,
you have to.
The prayer is important. The intention is important. The self-work isn't, like, you have to use it all together. You can't just like sage and be like, okay, it's gone. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
For negative energy, it's different. Energy it helps clear the energy, but not when we're talking about a crazy entity.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, because once this thing is in your quote unquote space, it kind of puts a bubble, and this is kind of how spirit explains it to me. It puts like a bubble around you, okay? And it like actually shields you. So sometimes people that actually have darker stuff attached to them, it will actually shield them from being able to send out for help, even though your guides and stuff are there. Sometimes you actually have to call in like Archangel Michael. You have to be able to do that to get through. Like Beth was praying every day and every night. And even though she may even lost some of her connection, this is her words. She said she lost some of her connections, but she kept her faith. But it wasn't as strong until after this, like once she was able. And that took us to collectively work together to call in divine guidance for her. And like once you, like I had to, this thing was staying in the corner of her room and stuff. Once you dislocate, and it's literally like dislodging or dislocating this energy from its comfort zone, you stir it all up, it's easier to get rid of. So ultimately, I mean, that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
Worse before it gets better.
It can.
Yeah.
It can get worse before it gets better. It can get better before and then get worse again. Like it's a process. It's a process of being able to let go of whatever grudges you're holding, if that's the case, you know, and then working with somebody that can actually physically see these things and tell you what it is, potentially what it is, because what it is might depend on what you need to do to get rid of it. Because like I had to actually use like candles, herbs and candles and essential oils to kind of like metaphysically be able to contain this thing to a degree. Like, and it's just different things I've learned along the way. I don't call it, I guess you could say witchcraft. I call it, I use some Appalachian folk tradition ways, which they rooted everything out of the Bible. But again, like, that's just my personal way of doing it. You know, it's not the right way or the wrong way. It's the way that works for you and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Yep.
So do you feel like you've covered everything? If so, we
I
can
think
go to
so.
questions.
Yeah, so everybody got questions.
All right, so we're gonna kick off the questions now, and you know, maybe you can answer them. I'll answer them. We'll both answer them. We'll just
Yeah, if you want to throw them up on the screen so I can see them,
I
and
will.
I'll follow your lead.
I will as soon as you guys. Anybody have any questions about this stuff? About things that go bump in the night?
Yeah, and I hope that it was informal or educational and like informational. And I know I had to kind of go through it because we'd be here for 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours, and we ain't got that kind of time. But I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Dawn, get some magnesium, Dawn. You can get headaches from the energy, but not using rods, right? I mean, yes, we can get energy from using rods, but it shouldn't cause such a severe headache that we can't. Here, I'll find it.
Yeah. Well, Emily,
I'm not talking about her.
I see. Get headaches. Okay.
Let me find it. Where'd it go? Right here. I mean, we can get those feelings, and yes, it is energy, but it shouldn't come and stay and be severe like that.
No, right? And it could be sign that something's actually, now, when I say something, I don't necessarily mean entity. Let's just get this clear. It could be a negative energy, or you're very clairsentient. Like if you're getting that kind of stuff from that, then it could be a sensitive to magnetic energy, EMF fields, because you're actually playing with that when you do that.
The thing too with rods is you can actually move them with your mind. Same thing with pendulum. Mm-hmm. If you don't have your mind clear, you know. Still, Dawn, magnesium helps headaches. Promise.
Yeah. You may want to clear out your rods and clear out your energy in general. Maybe if you're burning incense or even like a white candle, and take your rods and run them over that incense or whatnot, or the candle, to kind of clear them out. And always, always, always ask for divine guidance and help when you do any type of divination. That's my personal opinion and my best advice.
Okay.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Trauma? Is that from trauma? This right here.
The mayor's almost every single night. Okay. It's going to root from trauma. I'm not going to get too deep into that, Miss Angela, I believe. It's kind of small, so I apologize. Yeah, that can be an issue where you have unresolved traumas from the past. That can, and a way for you to subconsciously be able to deal with that. But depending on how dark and emotional they are you being taken to like hellish places or hellish type realms where you're constantly having to, if this is a question, not intuitively a question, are you being taken to hellish like places where you constantly have to run from things or have to survive? It's like a apocalyptical. Does that make sense, Angela? If not, then we'll go another direction with it. I'm looking over at the chat too on a bigger screen.
I'm waiting for her to reply. Angela, are you there? Can you answer a question?
And I'll go ahead and see you're saying like how you shouldn't have the migraines going back to that. You might just be very sensitive to energy. It could be nothing at all. Like I'm going to try my best to stay not to look into things too much intuitively because this is my first live and I'm going to pick up just like Rachelle does from y'all because I don't want to say anything too personal or anything, but I think it would really help if you cleanse out your rods and your energy in general and just kind of asked. I really think that would help you.
Well, I didn't mean to make it seem like I was saying that she wasn't communicating with someone. I'm just saying that rods and pendulums are tools and they're an extension of you. So,
sure. Yeah.
So you can move them with your mind as well, but they can be spirit used. I'm just saying that your headache shouldn't, not that you shouldn't get headache. I get headache. And especially when it's negative energy, I really get a headache. But if I'm channeling, sometimes I'll get a headache, or if I'm in a certain area, I'll get a headache. But it does not so severe that it lasts and lasts and lasts. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. I just I wanted to make sure I didn't know if she was still asking questions because I'm not able to keep up.
No, that was the other one. This is Angela. She said she had an example of a nightmare. She got shot in the back and died.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like you could be having a trauma that was unsettled from a past life, or something like that. But you also could be having, if it's not necessarily directed from something that's actually happened to you or somebody else that you're having like a reoccurring nightmare for, it is triggering fear. So there is some potentially, I need to be very careful when I say this, there's potentially something that you need to move past in your life and kind of like, maybe seek out somebody that can help you move through any type of trauma you may have, but as well as, kind of get into your spiritual practices and routines. I don't know what that is for you, but you definitely want to start clearing out your energy, your vibration. It's keeping your vibration lower, whatever this may be, whether it's energy or entity based. But I would definitely recommend getting, if you're comfortable with doing crystals, you should get you some black tourmaline, some black obsidian, get you some clear crystal quartz and some amethyst. It can be in the form of a bracelet, but preferably some stones. You can take that black tourmaline or that obsidian and lay flat, and just chill out and put that stuff on your forehead. Okay. And it'll start to pull any type of residual negative energy into that stone. Blackness absorbs, right, and then transmutates just like the clear stones. And those are really 3 powerful stones you can have if you're having stuff like this. I have things like that have happened to you. That's why I asked if it was more like you were running from something or something's coming to get you, or you're on a mission to kind of like save the world. I've had all those types of dreams, and a lot of times it can be negative energy or entity based. So please don't be fearful of that. Just know that there are ways you can do that. Definitely cleanse your area, cleanse your space, And if that don't work, then it might have to be investigated into further. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, I agree. Negative energy can cause nightmares.
Yeah.
So it's clearing out your space and stuff, but also dealing, that sounds like something in the past life, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes our past life can manifest in our dreams.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It did in mine one time. I'm pretty sure I was a man on a ship and I drowned in the ocean.
Yeah. But if you have that, because sometimes we hang on to that.
Mm-hmm.
And it needs to be, cleared. Like if we come back without clearing it, right?
Austin, man. That might be a trip. Oh. Okay, yeah, definitely try to Angela, definitely try to use those in a way of like clearing out your chakras. You can find a lot of information online, or you can work with just like a clear quartz, and maybe time to actually cleanse those stones too with like water. Well, not always, because some of them aren't water safe, but definitely with the full moon. Like the full moon, you generally don't want to do any type of crystal cleansings. This is what some people say under the lunar eclipse, because it's like it can be chaotic energy. It can cause a lot of upheaval in people's lives. If you're not comfortable in your path in your life, you can have more upheaval than others during lunar eclipses, and it kind of works in other ways too. That's just one example, not everybody. But yeah, definitely give your stones a good cleansing and see if that works for you, and just feel the energy. You should be able to put it in your hands if you're sensitive to energy, and you'll be able to feel like a tingling, a pushing, a pulling. It can be subtle, it can be strong, and just put that on your forehead and just like in your form of prayer, or ask for help to try to rid yourself of these things if it's anything negative like that. And I think that's going to be helpful with you learning how to work. I'm hearing this from Spirit. You need to really tune in on learning how to work more with your energy and your magnetic field. Like that's coming in pretty good for you. Not that I think you already do, but I feel like you might want to explore that more. And protecting your energy from people in your environment. There's that coming in too.
Yeah, and like we said, like negative energy of any kind can cause you to have really bad dreams too. I used to always tell people, cleanse out your room, cleanse out your space, whatever it is, because that can also cause you to have nightmares as well. Just the negative energy in itself.
Yep, I 100% agree.
Well, Sly's finally gonna have her baby.
Yay!
He's been
baby!
coming over every night, like, when am I gonna have my baby, Rachelle? When am I gonna have my baby? We don't even know what it is yet. So she's like,
I'm gonna say,
just broke.
Is it boy? Do you feel like it's a boy?
Yeah.
I feel it's a boy. It's a boy.
Congratulations. I told her probably before the 25th. We're a couple weeks away.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, it's really hard to predict when, because babies have their own soul path and their own mind of their own.
Yeah.
There's this question. Can you see it?
What is the cause of a child's entire... Now, is this... Wait a minute. So generally, this was a dream, correct? I think I read that correctly. Yeah, Melissa. But it's both in dreams, right? Let's see. So anything that is evil, sometimes they try to come in. They can come in as like innocent children, okay, or something even darker. Now, your dreams can be triggered by things you watch on TV. They can be triggered by medication. I'm not saying this is you. I'm just giving everybody an example here. So, but seeing something like, I feel like this was very vivid for you, and seeing that with the dark, full stuff. Entities, when they come in the form of something that they're not, something's always off about their facial features. Let's say it's your child, for example. I've had that happen to me. I've been attacked that way. It come in as my son, but he was bigger than he really was. Just his features, he looked older, and his teeth were a bit longer, and his eyes were kind of just weird, and he was off. And yeah, that's something potentially trying to be something it's not. And one of the things about entities and beings and stuff like that. They can transform into things. The ones that have stronger abilities, they can transform into things that are like shapeshift. They can't never change their eyes though. You'll always know by their eyes. So if you ever see a relative or anything in your dream that just doesn't look quite right and it doesn't feel right, it generally could be something else posing as that relative or that person that you know, or even a form of something else. The eyes will always give it away. Always. Black, red, yellow, slitted, all that kind of stuff.
Going back to Angela, she's like, well, my boyfriend's negative. When you have negative people around you, you have negative energy around you, it can help. I mean, dark things are attracted to that, correctly? Correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. And it could be that he's having his own, that's what I was saying at the end. I picked up you were around somebody more that's in the negative mind frame, and it might not just be him. It may be like his own traumas and stuff that keep him in that place. There's a negative energy, residual energy, or entity possibly keeping him in that low vibrational state, because we're naturally not supposed to necessarily be like that unless it's a learning phase. We always do this. So, and I'm not saying like, you know, ditch him. I'm just saying, understand that he could, you know, be harboring that for you, and it's trying to attack y'all's relationship. Potentially.
Yep. Kind of like mine. Kind of like my situation. Yeah.
Yes.
And then it fed off of that negativity. But when we have negative people around us, negative energy around us, we can bring those things to us. They are more afraid of the light. They feed off the dark. They feed off the fear. They feed off everything negative. That's why I always tell you guys, try to keep your energy high, or your vibration higher, because when it goes low, that's when you open the doors for other things to attach to you. And that includes drugs, alcohol, addictions, anything like that. And then once they get attached, you can't get unaddicted, and you can't get it, you know, because they're going to continue to want you to do that stuff. They're going to continue to want you to be depressed. And then you're kind of screwed until you decide, yes, I need to get help. And sometimes it is just an addiction, but sometimes when you are going through an addiction, you attract those things into your energy level. I know because my cousin, I think he has them, because I can't even stand to be around him. If I can't stand to be around somebody or stand, there's a problem. And it's more than just, you know, because I feel that energy. So it's more than just like, okay, you know, he's on drugs. It's like, no, there's something dark there that my light can't handle, and it doesn't like it.
Yeah. And and sometimes people were like she's saying, and people that have darker things kind of attached to them, they will lash out at you for absolutely no reason. Like, you can be on cloud nine, and then you'll have either a stranger or a family member or a friend or something, or a friend of a friend that you don't really know, which I've had that happen, where they lash out at me and project things on me. I've had things, like I've been around people that were actually full-fledged, in my opinion, spiritual opinion, full-fledged possessed. Like, it's called manifestation. So things that people that actually have harboring energy or spiritual energy, bad spirits, they will project out onto you. Like, they will, it's in form of like gaslighting.
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll make you want to drink, make you want to do things, make you want to, because they want to keep you in that lower place where they can feed off of it. You know, and if you have addictions, it's going to be hard to come out of that. But if you come out of it, isn't that part of releasing that dark then? Because they have nothing left to feed on. Yeah,
pretty much. And I mean, I know that this is a subject that might be kind of hard to talk about for some people, but it's important to learn and to be able to identify like the difference between somebody's negative mood and then negative energy, like, because I think we're all here because we have a similar interest, right? So I was seeing some of the comments. Please don't be scared. Being scared just brings, I know it's kind of creepy to talk about, but for real, like it's something, you're fine. It's good. It's just good information to be aware of, for sure. I kept my scary stories PG.
Yeah. Don't be scared, because when you're scared, they feed off of that fear. That's what I always tell people. Like, people are like, oh, I'm scared. How do you do what you do? Like, you can't be afraid. I'm not afraid. I walk a fine line.
Right. That could be any, I mean, I hate to say it like this, but a shadow person can be anything from just like a human spirit, and that's the way that you're actually perceiving them. because sometimes it can just be a human spirit trying to talk to you. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not going to be any ascended human spirit, because generally they don't come in that form. Is it possible? Yes, but I personally don't resonate with that. Rachelle may have a different opinion, but there's something or somebody that you're able to perceive. And Melissa, you may have more things you're actually able to perceive than you even realize at this point. Because if you're seeing this and you see them when you're at home and it happens in public, but rarely, that means that it's actually around you. It's familiar with your energy. That doesn't mean that it's a relative or anything like that. I don't think it's like that, but it could just be a past relative. And if it's talking, and you're not hearing anything, are you hearing anything in your thoughts? I want you to pay attention when you see this thing again. And I want you to pay attention to thoughts that come through your mind, and you're going to be able to discern the difference. If you can't do that now, I feel, Melissa, you'll have the ability to do that within the next little bit if you try. You'll be able to, if you need to get this thing out, I feel like your energy is really high. And I think that you will be able to work through whatever this is, because I'm not going to say that it's super malevolent, because if you're just seeing it and it's there and you're not having any other things happening, it probably isn't super malevolent.
Isn't she having nightmares?
Isn't that maybe that was that? Oh, yeah.
They're both having nightmares. So
yeah, that could be it then. Yeah, that could be it. It has a lot to do. It'll come in different forms. I would recommend, again, cleansing, just learning about like how to protect your energy and your space. I know this sounds repetitive, but it really is. These entities all kind of operate in a similar way. And I know that sounds crazy, and there's no guidebook for this stuff, y'all. Like, there is, but there really isn't, because none of us really truly know, but some of us know more than others. But it has a lot to do with protecting your energy and your space. Like, it all can root back to that, and see how it goes. Definitely see how it goes.
And she would probably have to get into the deeper side of maybe why it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. Always 100%.
Because cleansing has to go with finding out why it's attached to you in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And it could be just, I kind of feel like Melissa, though, and I don't know if you feel this too, but she might be somewhat psychic.
Probably.
I feel like she has intuitive.
I think they both are.
Yeah, very possible. Yeah.
But the problem is that they're in a lower vibration because of what's going on around them.
Yeah. Or just in general, haven't like quite got to where you need to be on your journey.
And I think Melissa might be kind of like you. Like, she might see darker things. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like Angela, she's more possibly empathic and clairsentient.
And I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to put it up so that people know in case they have any other.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is astral projection right here. I know because I went through that and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked, and I'd start praying. And it wasn't that. I was trying to astral project, but I was stopping it. You vibrate really strongly when you're trying to astral project, especially when you're first starting to do it, for a lot of the newbies. Or if you're, it's almost like you're trying to, but you're not getting to that point, like your body's trying to release your spirit, kind of. That's why you're having that vibration.
Yeah, and it's different for everybody, because Emily experiences kind of stuff like you and her are very similar in your abilities, but for me it's totally different. Like I might see visions and stuff, and then I actually go into them. So everybody will experience astral stuff differently. But yeah, like she said, I agree with what she's saying too. I've personally never felt that, but that doesn't mean it's not how it goes. Just for other people that may have experiences like me.
The same thing. Like, I was vibrating so bad, it freaked me out so bad. But this was in the beginning of my journey. I didn't know what was going on, and that's what it was. I did some research and I found out that's what was happening to me. Because I was astraling.
And then, like,
I don't do it anymore. It sucks. I don't do it anymore. Like now that I know what it is, I don't do it anymore. It's crappy.
I think I do it in my dreams. I do it I have really like done it a couple times, like for real where I could feel and everything, but it was like having sea legs. It was wicked. My bed was started switching from where it used to be to where it was. It was like I was going through dream inception, and then I got up and started walking through my house, and I was like it was awful. But yeah, that's what happened.
Well, Melissa, you it's time to to learn more about your abilities.
Yep. 100%.
Because obviously you have them. It's just getting to a place where you can hone them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. I mean, you found your tribe, Melissa, if you're having this kind of stuff. Like, just continue to look at content, continue to search for stuff. Like, I mean, it's there. It's there.
Yeah. So, vivid dreams are usually a sign of clairvoyance.
Mm-hmm.
You usually do dream in color. And isn't changing the outcomes, isn't that, oh crap, what's it called? You probably remember before I do. My mind just went blank.
I mean, that would be not necessarily.
I know what
it's
it
more
is.
than vivid dreams, but it's yeah. Now I'm all.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. There's a word for it. There's a word for it.
If you can change the outcome, you're in a form of astral projection already, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a word for lucid dreaming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Like we say on the podcast, tits. Yes, that's right.
I love when they do that, because I'll be like stuck, and then it'll pop in my head. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. So lucid dreaming. Some people are really good at it. Others, it's just. I think it's a gift in that, and it's part of probably the clairvoyance. You don't know how. Lots of meditation, lots of raising your vibration, lots of learning. That's always to open your gifts. And then when you get to a point, start using them. But you kind of have to find your own way. But lots of meditation, lots of reading and learning, and being, watching things like this, stuff that you can learn from. Because when you do that, it's almost like spirit knows, okay, she's ready to learn. Okay, she's ready to tap in. And things will start getting a little bit stronger for you, but be prepared for it. Clearing your chakras.
I always listening to the Lights at Midnight podcast.
Yes. I always tell people, I always tell them to watch Tragedy by Design too, because it really is stuff that you need to know in there if you're going to be a medium about soul contracts and stuff like that.
You definitely, one thing to say, and I'm saying this in general, you definitely have to have the desire and the drive to want to further get into the spiritual stuff. Because if you don't truly have that in your heart, it won't come to you the same way either. So it's something that you have to be ready for spiritually, but also too, sometimes spirit actually holds back these experiences so you can live your life and take care of your earthly responsibilities. Like for me, I had my children and all that kind of stuff, and I had to get my house, and I had to do my jobs. And I was a bartender, an event planner. I did all kinds I was a graphic artist. I did graphic art. I'm a Jane of all trades. I can I can plan your wedding, I can bartend your wedding, I can make your jewelry, I can make your invitations, and I can talk to your dead grandmommy too. So I was all kinds of stuff before. Seriously, I really can. I'm multifaceted. Never thought I'd do this. And again,
that's what I'm saying. We seem to have all these different things that we do before we get to our path. And you get there when it's time.
Yeah, it can't be forced, but if you're already experiencing these things, you're being in a way, you're being allowed to experience these things in a way. And there's a small fraction of that. It's just like people saying that I've sold my soul. Well, guess what? Your soul's not yours to sell. That's my opinion. You can do it. You can make a deal like that. I highly advise against it because it's not very smart. And I ain't got no problem saying that. But at the same time, you didn't create it. It's not yours. That's my opinion. It's not yours to sell. I think that's very valid to say too. So,
a big part of it comes into accepting it too. And when you can go into it without fear, because spirit's not going to continue or help you grow if you're not ready. You have to be at a place where you're ready.
Yep. Sure enough.
Trying to see.
And Melissa K, I see faces and reflections and other creatures and live surveillance. You could be actually seeing elementals. So we're very closely aligned with different types of dimensions and places. And you have elemental spirits And elementals can be anything from positive to negative, and then a lot of them are neutral. They're just existing within nature. You could have the ability to be able to kind of sense that kind of stuff, and that's generally associated with earth energy. So you might be an earth sign or have like a earth moon or something like that, and very clairsentient, so you get feelings in your body.
Or it's hard to tell sometimes if that's, I can never pronounce it, so please don't shoot the messenger for saying the word wrong.
Emily, type it. What's it called?
Pareidolia.
Yeah.
Pareidolia. I call it pareidolia. That's not how you say it, but
Yeah.
it's where you see things that aren't there. Like, I can do that. And it's hard to tell the difference. And I think that, though, is also kind of a gift, but because it goes along with clairvoyance. But it's like, you have to, like, if you're gonna see real things in photos, you have to be seeing the other fake things too. Like, it's almost like that's how your sight works. But it's just hard to tell the difference between the two.
Yeah, and it's something that you gain with time, because sometimes I can look like, my client sent me a picture of a tree and she saw the faces in it, and I could clearly see that it was the way the tree was made. But as I looked at that image, I could tell there's actually fae. There's like fairies. I personally don't work with fae energy or anything like that. I know a lot of people do, and that's fine. It's not my thing, but I still sense it. And they are elemental. You have different types of elemental beings, and they all exist. Everything has a spirit. Everything has like energy to it. Even
they're just,
I don't know, everything has energy to it.
Dimension, yeah. Like unicorns exist, dragons exist, all that exists, is just on a different dimension.
Yeah. And we actually can create that, like Slender Man. If you create a story and people believe in it enough, that's called a thought form entity, and there's different types, but you can actually do it that way.
Or skinwalkers.
Yeah.
I mean, they come from way back when, but it was created probably by someone, and they put a lot of thought into it. So a lot of those things,
Yeah.
It's really, so catching the Slender Man or whatever on camera probably really happening because so many people believed it that it actually manifested. Our thoughts create. I tell you guys that all the time. And that goes to anything. Like, I manifested my gifts. I just wanted them.
Exactly.
So we can actually manifest anything.
Exactly. I agree.
Do you see it? When I was a child, almost nightly, a lot of multiple times at night, I would have drama where I would float with spirits. When I went through abuse, my dreams felt demonic.
Yeah, so you were having a disassociative spiritual experience is the easiest way I can explain that, because when we suffer through trauma and stuff like that, even as children, because I did myself in different multitude of ways, you can actually disassociate. So it allows you to feel like in a safe space, but also spirit kind of cradles you in those places, especially when you're a little bitty. And yeah, so when the abuse stuff, and a lot of times I kind of see where you're going with this. And a lot of times the people that are the abusers, not every time, but a lot of the times, they actually, it can be a hereditary thing. Okay. And it can happen repetitively through a bloodline. So it's generally not all the time. So I want to be very respectful when I say this, but it can exist when we're talking about darker stuff. It can be an actual entity on the family, and like a curse that has to be broken. And it can be an experience, that we had to they had to learn from, that they didn't learn from, and they didn't break it. And then this comes into their life. But generally it comes from a place of pure evil. So that makes sense as to why you were having demonic like dreams during the abuse. Also with the trauma can trigger that. But I will stand by what I say, that people that do certain types of actions, it is kind of like it's in the blood, a bloodline thing in multitude of ways. Even it's like repeating the cycles. It's like karmatic too. There's karmatic cycles that get passed down, and like it's up to, like, for me, I'm the cycle breaker. And my sister and brother, even though they're 12, they're twins and they're 12 years younger than me, they're the cycle breakers. Like, I have broke that cycle. That was a part of my yod. So I have a yod. I call it a yod or yod.
Yod.
Yeah. So, but mine is like very much present. It's my sun conjunct with my Vesta, which is my spiritual light, and my self-identity in the 11th house, which is the house of Aquarius, which is like people and networking and places and, you know, all that. And then it's Neptune and Pluto at the bottom corresponding, and Pluto's in my 4th house of family, and Neptune is in the 6th house. I can't remember that off the top of my head. Point is, it's constantly activated and shit constantly hits the fan, and I'm supposed to be able to like be the one to work through it. But also, like in my 12th house, I have Mercury, I have, I believe, Mars. I also have my moon in Cancer, so it's in Cancer, which is a water sign, all encompassing, intuitive type stuff. And then my Black Moon Lilith conjuncts my moon in the 12th house, which is the mother, the unmother. It's one of the strongest conjunctions you can have in the strongest place. Like your astrology, y'all learned last week or so, y'all learned your astrology can have a lot to do with like cueing you in on how intuitive you're going to be. And that's like one of the things that I do offer. I won't be doing a whole bunch of birth charts. I'll do birth charts in that form. And I will tell y'all, while I got it on my mind, my launch date for my website is the 20th. I wanted to have all my bells and whistles going with my jewelry and my essential oils, but I'm going to focus on getting my services out there. I will be doing like spiritual guidance, all kinds of stuff. And you can email me if you're interested, or just kind of wait until the 20th and I'll have it all done. But yeah, I'll be doing, like I said, spiritual guidance, business information, and all that kind of stuff, paranormal guidance, everything.
So that's how it works. I always tell people, like, when you're opening up, tools are a good way. Tarot is really good. I used Tarot Oracle when I first started working, and then one day I didn't need it anymore. And that's how you get it, is you start getting getting the talking and hearing from your guides. Always positive, it's got to always be positive. And that's kind of how it opens up. I mean, that's how I start channeling. And then one day I said, I don't need the cards anymore.
Yeah. And sometimes for me, I'm the same way. Like, I don't have to use cards for anything, but sometimes I prefer to do that because it can, like I said, validate. And sometimes it can give you just a little extra hint of information that may not make sense to like me, like, oh, I didn't need that. But when you actually tell the client, they're like, oh, wow. So sometimes it's helpful to even keep them in there, even when you don't.
Well, I can't remember meanings of cards. Mine have to be like straightforward, like my crime cards. I love my crime cards, and it always validates my reading. But anything else, But in spirit box, just be careful, protecting, because you can get tricksters that come in. It's not always accurate with spirit boxes. You don't know who's talking, so keep that in mind.
It's low vibrational entities generally. You don't need spirit boxes to communicate with divine spirit, I think.
Well, personally. I don't know. I did see when I was watching Hope Paranormal, and he had Michael Jackson come in and sound just like Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I can believe some of it. I can get down with some of it. It's like,
I think I want to channel Michael Jackson now.
You should. That would be awesome.
I've been wanting to.
That would be a fun little series.
I'm not like totally into like celebrities at all, but there are a few I'd like to communicate with, like Paul Walker, Kobe, the ones that I like.
You can do it. I know you can do it.
I'm not a celebrity person. I have done it. I just,
new Patreon celebrity channel.
I need to do it. I've been meaning to do. I want to do more on Black Delilah. I know that's not how you say your name, but I feel like I missed a lot when I first did it. Like, I feel like I keep getting more stuff that I'd like, so I need to do more on that. It's deeper than what I thought it was. Like, sometimes I'll end the reading and then I'll like get more stuff later, and it's like, man, I need to do a reading on this, but I haven't done it. But it's because I'm getting like deeper stuff. Like, I think this was more, maybe even her. I keep getting a female with it, like because females used to be like madams, like the madams back then. It feels someone like that, like maybe she crossed the line. And what was weird is I didn't get that before, but I kept getting multiple males and I couldn't figure out who did it. But it makes sense because of all the anger and stuff that ended up happening, how they didn't want her seen. So I've been getting that recently. So I was like, I need to go back to that one. Sometimes if I feel the pool, I gotta go. So, because I always thought male, because I was getting a bunch of males around her, so that's what I assumed. But I don't think so anymore.
Very possible. When you don't get it, it comes in for a reason. You got to follow it.
And so this right here, so usually when you get your name called, it's usually kind of an awakening experience. Like, I remember when I first started opening, I kept getting I'd hear it audibly. And I was told that was like a way that spirit was communicating or opening up me. Like, that was like the first sign. So, I mean, that's what I know about it. I mean, it's just you hearing.
Yeah, and then that happens to me like actual hearing. I mean, I'll hear sounds and stuff, but like actually hearing, for example, my name being called happens in that between awake and asleep state for me. And I've had good things and I've had bad things do it. I've had things snarl and growl. I've had things be polite. I've had human spirits try to contact me. And it's always during that right time. But I will say this, during right ear, there's some things that say right ear is like benevolent and left ear could be lower vibrational. The higher the pitch, the higher the vibration, because you'll have your ears ring. And then the lower the pitch sometimes, or the popping, like I've noticed this with darker energy stuff, and Emily can validate this. Sometimes the whole room, the air pressure, the biometric pressure will shift and like just drop. And then you might have your ears pop, you might feel heavier. And now sometimes that is weather related, right? But when you're already into some spiritual shit, like you know the difference between a thunderstorm coming or whatever. But then a lot of times I'll get higher pitches in my ear when spirit has something to say. And it's always generally in my right ear. Left ear, not so much, but I have had like the dropping sensation. And you can actually, it's a good time to actually say that you can set up these parameters between you and your spirit guides, like your cues. Like sometimes they're given to us, but like, okay, spirit, like when you need to talk to me, come on, try to do it through my right ear. Let me know with a ringing. And when you get that, to stop and channel, you can do stuff like that. You help make the rules here.
Yeah. Well, that I mean, it doesn't happen really much to me anymore. It was mostly when I opened up and someone screamed, "Freya!" because that's my nickname. So I knew it was my husband or it was a male. It wouldn't have been, my grandpa hadn't passed it, so it had to be him. But no one else would call me that but him, But I was in that middle state, which is
he's around you.
Easiest, yeah, he is. He was talking to me today.
I believe it.
How I'm so busy. I'm so busy.
I'm telling you to calm down.
Yeah. He's like, you have so much to do. You're so busy. I was like, I know. You have no idea.
He's proud of you.
Yeah, that's what he told me today.
I just heard that. I literally just heard that. He said, I'm so proud of her. Like, he just did this. I'm so proud of her. I can't believe it.
Yep. And see, whenever I hear it like that, sometimes
now I'm getting emotional. I can't do this.
Whenever I hear like him talk to me like that, I question it sometimes because it just kind of pops in. It's like I'm used to kind of him communicating, but sometimes like it's out of the blue, I was just like, and it's usually when I'm like doing stuff, like I was putting together a bird cage and then it kind of just like came in my mind. And he said the same thing. You're so busy, you're doing all this stuff. I'm so proud of you. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Within the first couple, within the first couple months of me and you knowing each other, or maybe it was like the first 6 months, because I think we started talking in like April or something of last year, May. Well, pretty much, I saw him on your anniversary. Like you had wrote something, and then I got a complete vision of you sitting where you used to do your readings at on your couch. And I saw him come up and kind of like kneel down beside of you. It was so sweet, and just like kind of hold you and stuff like that. I can't remember if anything was said, but I do remember seeing that.
It was, I think it was the time, because it had been years since I had an experience. Because what they don't give us those huge experiences. I had a lot of huge experiences after we passed, but they kind of get less and less because we have to learn how to live without them. We have to learn, we can't just be focused on when my next experience is. So it gets less. Plus time, time just changes things. But I had actually felt him holding me in my bed, and I hadn't had that in 6-7 years, something like that. And it was around my anniversary, so I think that's why I posted about it.
Yeah, I see you laying, I don't know, this could be just whatever, but I see you laying on your side and he's behind you and you're looking towards a window. Like you're not looking, but you're laying like towards something. There's either a dresser or a window.
I don't lay on my side a lot, but that time I was on my side. Yeah.
I'm just trying to validate that for you, because that's the vision I got for,
Yeah.
of it. So
Yeah.
that's really
It was
cool.
pretty I like those kind of like he's given me some very vivid experiences. Like and that's just because of the connection, but especially
Mhm.
in the beginning, only a couple years after, like there was a time where I had like I swore my eyes were open, but it was like he was laying on the side of the bed with his back to me and I could see his back, I could see his arms, everything, like he was really there. It was the weirdest thing.
That's
And
awesome, man.
yeah, and it was like I've never seen with my eyes like that. It was pretty crazy. And you could feel how the bed was like bent in too,
Yeah.
like you could feel the pressure, it was so
Yeah.
crazy.
That's sweet though. And I mean, it just goes to show you, like, because a lot of times when we're intuitive, like being intuitive people, we can channel in stuff for people that are not related to us or close to us faster than we can people that are closer to us. And that's something that I had to work on, because I knew I was communicating like with my grandmother and stuff and different things. But you did a reading for my great grandmother, and she was the one I felt so disconnected with, even though I knew she was there. But it was because of the pain and the hurt that was associated with it. And you showed me that, like, I'm gonna cry. You showed me that she was, much closer to me than I even felt her. I just had a hard time feeling her because of my trauma and my pain. With my grandmother, her daughter, we made a pact. Like, I don't know how old I was, but she was living with me. We made a pact. She's like, if I can come back and tell you like what's up, I'm going to. I'm like, all right, let's do this. And I figured out how she does it. She does it through music, like some Southern rock and stuff like that. And just, 90s music. And she comes, and then I'll either sometimes when I'm around my mom and something kind of funny happens, I'll hear her laugh, and actually her ashes are there too. And I don't even think about it, but I just see like her doing her thing. My grandma was wide open, y'all. We ain't getting into that story, but she was fun. She was a lot of fun. She got in a lot of trouble, in her life, but she was a lot of fun. So,
Well, what's weird is like I can hear him and I can like but I don't have a lot from my grandparents.
yeah.
And I don't understand why that is. Like I have to go to others for readings for that. Like I don't really, I mean, I've auto wrote them before for my mom, but I've never been able to like, it's different with him. And I think that's the guide thing. I think that's the twin flame thing. I think it's just that connection.
It is, I think too. I really do, because he's around you a whole lot. And like your grandparents, like your grandmother came in like she was still like she was still living. Like I
She's
thought
a
your
Leo.
grandmother. Okay, yeah, she was like she was in the kitchen and she was like doing her thing, and like she come in even when I was reading for your grandfather, which that was a good practice, because I remember him saying something about the Korean War, and then I was like, no, it's not, it's something else. And that's when I learned. I mean, I knew I wrote it down what it really was, and I second guessed myself when I verbally told you. And don't do that, y'all. Don't second guess.
Nope, don't second guess. I do it all the time. Nope. Don't do it.
Yeah. Generally,
yeah, no, because it was the
your
Korean
first
War. Yeah, it was the Korean War, and yeah, no, that was and I don't get a lot of readings, so that was something that my grandma's been gone since 2002. But that's just like her. That's what she was. She was a homemaker. She's always cooking, always cleaning, always taking care of the kids. She was always going.
She kept showing me biscuits or something like that, like bread, like cornbread or bacon.
Gravy and
that's what it was.
Whatever. Yeah. That would be her. And then my grandpa was more like, he was like a kind of a standoffish person, but except for when it came to me.
Yeah.
Like I was his like little girl until
he showed me a building. He had a building outside with like a truck or cars he'd kind of like work on, or he would show you more tomboy things.
Oh yeah, because I would walk around the yard with him. Yeah, we used to catch little horny toads all the time. These little lizards, we catch those, and like I was always walking around with him out, following around. So whenever spirit wants to tell me that someone's like that, that they were with their grandpa and or their dad and they followed him around the yard, they always kind of show me my reference of me doing that with my grandpa. So that's what I mean. Like that's how spirit will reference things, is they use our own experiences sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, yeah, we have this one, but I mean, everybody can tap in. Everybody can get premonitions. Everybody can do that. It's if you want to make it grow. And we all connect in different ways, and we're all different gifted, but we all have that ability because remember, we come connected to the other side. So we can all have premonitions about stuff that's going to happen.
Yep. We're all connected to the other side, and we're all connected to each other and everything that has a spirit in the physical and spiritual realm. It's fucking amazing.
No, and that's kind of going back to the vision I was having of the knife with that guy. Like, I think it was really like the mind, the consciousness of it. So the consciousness is so strong. So that's why some people, I think that's why, like a lot of us, especially if you're empathic or clairsentient really strongly, like you connect with the stuff of the world that's happening around you. Like,
right.
You know, that's why a lot of these times right now, I think that people are struggling with it.
Yeah.
Because of it. But
I'm staring at my light ring, but as I'm doing that, I'm getting kind of like double vision, and I don't know if it's me or somebody else, but I'm getting like blurry vision.
Well, we were talking about spirits, so you know,
Yeah,
when we talk about them, they will appear.
I'm getting like a doubly vision thing, like the light's starting to get real sensitive in my eyes for some reason. I just would throw that out there. It could just be me because I'm sensitive to it, but I'm just throwing that out there now. Let's see if it's anybody in the chat.
Well, we were just talking about my grandparents. I wouldn't be surprised. It could be anybody, though.
Let's see.
Yep, you can't be scared doing any of this. That's what I'm saying. You cannot. Do not even try to do this work if you've got one hint of fear of doing it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, just make sure you protect your energy. The main thing is not trying to figure out what it is. It's about just protecting you and what's yours. You have to protect yourself just like you would protect your children, protect your energy. Like, it's so special. Yeah, and please don't be panicked. Like, this is not my like point of trying to make you panicked. We all deal with some form of negative energy or negative entity at some point. There is not a one of us that is exempt from this. This is a part of life. The dark and the light exist for us to learn. That is the goal. But there is a lot more multitude of levels to deal with any of this stuff. Just remember, you are stronger. Your energy is stronger. Your connection to your divine team is stronger than it. And I mean, finding your own faith or your own like spirituality, like finding that comfort in that might be another way or route to go. Got the mouth. Hold on.
Yeah, and shoot, I hope Spirit's not trying to come in because I just lost my train of damn thought. When I do that, when I get spacey and lose my thought, it's because someone's trying to take over my thoughts.
Yeah, and see, if y'all see me kind of like looking to the left or to the right or down or kind of zone out, it's the same way for me. So I promise I don't have like Tourette's. It's just, and no offense if anybody does, I'm not trying to be, but I'm just serious. Like, I'll do like this or like close my eyes. So I move a lot anyways.
I mean, it all comes down to have to be in that place in that vibration to do it. And like, again, if you're scared of deceased people, which are just spirits, they just lost their human body. So they're just like you and me without a human body. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. So, I mean, in almost 11 years, I've had 2 experiences. And that's because of the trauma that I went through, but also because there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of trauma during that time. And I think that's what happened. You know, so because of the trauma and because of me awakening, that's why. But I go to haunted places a lot and I don't, you know, I know that I have that protection. I'm not saying do that, but I walk a fine line.
Yeah, and I mean, I do this. I enjoy going to places, and I've been, like I said, I was this, like, I don't know what it shows up on the screen, but I was about this far away from Annabelle. I've been to the West Virginia Penitentiary. Like, I've been places, and you do like pick up feelings and stuff, but that's where you have to learn how to transmutate energy. We all have the ability to transmutate energy, just like anything else, but some people have it stick, and you do a lot of that through your solar plexus. And other people do it other ways, but I mean, it's all about like being able to release and let go and learning your ways of being able to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions? Are you getting tired, Luna?
I am a little tired. My eyes are bothering me. That's why, I mean, I'm serious. Like, I think it's the light ring. Yeah. Do you feel like you're getting tired? or something? Is it you? Am I picking up on that from me?
But I mean, I've got a live ring. I've got the. I'm always tired after lives.
Yeah.
Even if
I'm not
doing
extremely
readings.
tired. I'm not extremely tired, but there's one really bad habit that I do have, and that's a nicotine habit. So I'm like, you smoke cigarette. That's the only thing. And I have chronic pain. Ooh, that's another thing to talk about being psychic. If you're a psychic, a lot of times I have not met a psychic person, psychic or psychic medium, that does not have some type of chronic pain or pain issue. Mine is in my spine. I have a crooked spine. Like I have it pretty bad. I call it Captain Crunch. I nicknamed it to be kind of cool and funny when it's not. But point is, like, I'm a chronic pain sufferer. A lot of people tend to have like surgeries or pain associated with picking up on spirit. And I don't know why. I have yet to find somebody that has not had something wrong with them that is a psychic or a medium.
Yeah. Or ADHD.
Yeah, something like that. It's going to be something.
ADHD comes, and we've talked about it multiple times, because your brain is moving faster, you're moving faster, and so is the vibration that you're trying to connect with.
Mm-hmm. I became more ADD or ADHD, whichever you want to call it. I became more like that since I've done it, because I'm thinking about something else right now, even though I'm present here with you. And it's not the Gemini, okay?
I am the same way. I never had ADHD before my gifts. I never had ADD before my gifts. And now I can't even sit down and read a book.
Right. It's like you get 5 or 10 minutes in. It's unless something that I know I need to do and like spirit's making me focus in on, that's different. That's totally different. But when it comes to like tasks and stuff in life, you do tend to kind of lose that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. I did. Like, I used to keep things in order. And like, I will say, like, before I became intuitive, or I was always intuitive and like claircognizant, but before I realized it and stuff, I had like a plan. I knew what I was doing. Like, I knew what was happening. You know what I'm saying? And I lost all that. I kind of completed all my goals, and the goals that I couldn't complete stopped. And then I went through my Saturn return, and I had no fucking idea what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then this came about. So, I mean, that's kind of full circle.
I didn't know what I wanted to do either. She's asking about depression. There's different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it can be associated with negative energy around you, but it's also associated, like, again, with your trauma. Sometimes you just get naturally depressed. Sometimes we have to resonate. And I'm not saying this to like, there's a disclaimer here. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. You know, we know all about that. But sometimes you actually have to withdraw and kind of just feel those feelings. And I found the last time that I started feeling that way, I felt like my heart broke into 1,000 pieces. And like, I don't know why. It just did. It just did. And I actually embraced that feeling because I struggle with depression. That's something that I really did struggle with. And it's like my heart broke into 1,000 pieces, and I understood why. I understood it was time for me to change. So sometimes, I mean, we have to go up and down, but depression can be triggered by intuitive, like energy or entities and stuff like that. It's very possible, but it's a fine line.
Mm-hmm. And then when you get in that low vibration, it's hard to get yourself out. I mean, and mental illness is a real thing as well.
Mm-hmm. It is. I don't want to devalue. Sorry, I'm having a hot flash. I'm premenopausal, I swear.
No, you're not. You're only 30 something. If you're not premenopausal, I'm not. It's a spirit thing. You don't know that spirit brings on heat flashes. Come on, girl.
That don't happen to me normally. It could be my just fat tail sitting up for 3 hours and drinking crack water.
and this, I mean, this question right here, yes, it can be, but it also can be soul contracts and things like that. It's not always dark. Yes, it's a mixture of things. So sometimes it's just the path. Unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's true. I agree with that, but also too, I'm very open. I mean, it's up to every individual and every parent.
Yeah.
I'm open to telling my children about certain spiritual experiences. I tell my children about the dark, a little bit about the dark and about the light. And like, I'm open with them about things more so than I ever thought I would have to be. But the world that we live in, like, I've had to explain to my 7-year-old daughter that bad people take you away, you know, and do certain things within context, of course. Like, you know, I try to keep it as where I can. But I do the same thing about the spirit world. I tell them, and like my kids have experience because I experience stuff. My son, he sees things. My daughter, she has visions. My other daughter senses things. Like they're all intuitive, and they're all more open to it because I am. If they've had any trauma or stuff, the best thing you can do is just nurture them and tell them how amazing they are and like how strong they are. And because a lot of times, and this makes me emotional too, a lot of times, like when you're in that situation, you feel like less than nothing. And being a child of that kind of abuse, like I didn't understand how there was so many times that I look back on my life and I was like, how did I always think I was like disgustingly ugly? How did I always think that nobody wanted to be my friend? Or how, and that has a lot to do with the negative influences and trauma and stuff that I went through. But I finally, now I'm at a point in my life, I look back and I'm like, you were so, and you are, I am, I'm me, I'm meant to be who I am. I tell myself I'm beautiful. I tell people, I have to tell myself constantly that, I'm fucking amazing. I don't care if nobody likes me, and it's just kind of the same way with kids. Like, I don't know why I was drawn to say that, but somebody needed to hear it.
Well, not only that, but if they're around another parent, you need to get, and that's doing this, you need to get the proof that you need to get them away from that parent.
Yeah.
Whether you got to go through the courts or whatever, get your all the evidence you need to do that, because courts rely on evidence. So all the evidence that you need to do that.
Sorry, I see what you're saying now. I didn't see that first.
I didn't see it either.
Yes, tiny for me. Yeah, it's time to make changes and adjust those changes. I mean, if it's like a grandparent and a parent, it does get a little more difficult. So you're going to have to get the child. It's like, unfortunately, and it makes you stronger. Me and a child that suffered from mental abuse or physical abuse and whatnot. I mean, you just kind of have to, sometimes we have to go through those things, and it makes us stronger because that child's going to grow up. They're going to be stronger than maybe even the rest of the children that are their age around them. And they're going to be able to help somebody else one day. Because that is my story. Like with paranormal stuff, I help other people. I went through hell. I went through the trenches. I've seen things. Like, and experience things, and like I take all those experiences and I push them out and I transmute them into something positive that is like helping people. So same thing. Just get them out.
I don't know if you want to answer this because I know you're not doing readings, so I don't know if that's something you can intuitively pick up on or not.
It could be a past relative. It could be it's a male spirit.
Said she doesn't recognize him.
Yeah, but even if it's a past relative, it might be like a great grandfather, or it could be a spirit guide. It depends on how it feels. Like, is it feeling kind of creepy when you see this person? Do you get weird feelings? Like, that would be helpful. But if it's in let's just say that it's in like, you see this person, it might kind of frighten you, but you don't feel a certain way, then it could be just a human spirit. It could be a spirit guide. It could be a great grandfather or something like that. I've experienced that with clients. If it makes you feel a certain way, then it still could be a grounded, like, or a earthbound spirit that you need to. But if he's been around most of your life and you're not having any problems and you're not seeing him during, like, you're seeing him and then bad shit happens. I'm trying not to cuss. I'm sorry. And bad stuff happens, then that's when you kind of need to like maybe move him out. So it's totally up to whichever way that goes.
Yeah. So it really just does depend on how you feel, because remember that our world interconnects the spirit world as well, and just, sometimes they're earthbound and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, energetic.
I'm telling my fiance bye because he's getting ready to head out to work.
Bye, fiance.
He can't even hear me. He's deaf.
Oh.
He's dead. We're getting old.
I mean, that is though, if it's affecting you guys, then there needs to be some changes there again, because that's
and chronic pain's a tough thing to go through. I mean, if they're causing trauma in the children, and if they're chronically pained where they can't get out of bed, you know, and then they have that anxiety. Like, I'm a chronic pain sufferer, and sometimes I'm lucky enough to have help with my kids, but there's some days that I can't get up out of bed at the proper time. And I mean, and I have help though. I have somebody here that will help me, and my children are able to cope and understand. But if it's in a way that isn't nurturing and like they can't function, then yeah, that's something that y'all are going to have to work together on and figure out. But chronic pain's tough. Chronic pain is a tough thing to deal with. I mean, because we deal with a certain level of pain all the time, and when that pain spikes, it's generally like, and it affects us, it's generally like on an 8, 9, level 10, we're going to the hospital type stuff. But that's just, yeah, I hate to hear that, and I can feel for both parties. Like I feel it, and I'm sorry that's happening. But yeah, just use your best discernment and judgment on that.
And Luna, there is some, you know, some natural stuff you can take for your pain.
Yeah, there is.
I know that I started taking B1 and I feel great.
My crack water does pretty good. I'm kidding. No,
it's good. Those are good too. I drink the C4 and it has the beet powder in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I didn't realize how low like B1 can make your, if you don't have it, if you're low on it, how low the energy level you can be since I've been taking that and ashwagandha at night.
Oh, okay.
Better. Yeah. I feel much better. I also had a healing, but yeah, I feel much better.
I need to do that. I need to go see a Reiki master. I need to go do like that type of energetic healing and see if it helps with some of my back pain too. Because I mean, it's still like we're just people. Rachelle says this all the time. We're just people. We still have problems and stuff. And I have like probably unhealed traumas that might even help release some of that. But mine's literally like my back's just
Well, I was lucky because with mine, I was getting to where I couldn't walk, but there was a surgery that could help me. So I still have, I still have the pain sometimes. Like if I do too much or I stand too long or any of that, I still have it, but it's like a lot better than it was. So
that's great. I'm glad to hear that because I mean, there's only
the pain itself makes you exhausted, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it can put you in a bad mood. It can make you anxious, like you're constantly dealing with it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But that, Reiki or any kind of energy healing is really good because it does like clear out your energy and stuff like that. I had someone thankfully that offered it to me as a gift, and it was really nice to do that. And she released a lot of energy.
That's great.
Yeah, I feel a lot better between that and my vitamins. I just don't think I never realized like B1 was a thing, you know. I always think B12, but B1 has really made a difference.
Yeah, I try to stay up on my B vitamins myself when I can, and like I noticed that I need to get me another a different type of multivitamin because it's showing up in like my eyes. I'm starting to get darker circles around my eyes. I mean, I'm obviously a smoker, like I smoke or whatever, and that'll cause it. But also too, I know I'm vitamin deficient by the colors of my eyes because I have darker complexions anyways, you know, so it really shows up. It really shows up in my skin and stuff.
Well, try some B1 if you don't already take it.
I'm gonna have to look.
Everybody.
I probably need to actually. That's a good idea because I don't think it's in anything I take that I'm aware of unless it's natural, you know.
Well, I watch these natural doctors and they're the one, and I just think I ran across it for a reason, you know, because sometimes I do that, and I'm probably mentioning it for a reason. So.
Yeah. Oh, and I started like harvesting weeds. I started not weed, but weeds like purple dead nettle. I want to be clear on that. Purple dead nettle is really cool. I actually dried some out and it's good for pain. It actually helped my fiance's. His face started like swelling up a little bit, like because I had a really bad abscess a couple weeks ago. I have a bad tooth I got to get taken out. And I know y'all don't come for me in the comments. I'm procrastinating like, you know what, but yeah, his started swelling up too, oddly enough. So it had to be something in the astrological realm and energetically and biometric pressure, whatever. And it helped. I like made him some dead,
I just heard about that.
Yeah, purple dead nettle, but stinging nettle probably would too. Like stinging nettle really would help. But purple dead nettle is kind of strong. Like if you make, I do like a little topper of it because it's like purple and green, and you can find all the information online, guys, if you want to look into it. But Yeah, I drank it, and it relaxes you. It does have that kind of property, and it helps with pain and inflammation. It's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, and antimicrobial. And his abscess wasn't as big as mine, but his started like going down. So, and it helped. I did it for 3 days straight. And I mean, he has like a natural immunity to fight stuff like this. Not me. I'm like, everything's ready to take me out, but not him.
But it's so funny because I just heard about the stinging nettle. I didn't even know you could do that, but I was just listening to a guy because I listened to the monthly readings, and he was talking about that. So it's so funny we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Stinging nettle is so good for you.
I actually got Emily. I was like, Emily, because she has allergies. I know I'm not trying to put you on blast, girl, but she had allergies. I'm like, get you some stinging nettle. Get you some stinging nettle. And she finally, I think, got some to shut me up about it. And she takes it now.
That's what my son needs, probably. If he'll do it. I can't even get him to take an allergy pill.
Right. And the purple dead nettle and stinging nettle are cousins. So they're really, really similar. So it is different. I'm pretty sure. Don't mark my words on that. But I think it's different, but it's from the same family. So they work almost just the same from my best of knowledge.
Yeah. Anybody have any more questions before we wrap up the night?
Yeah.
Anyone at all? All right. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Y'all are awesome. Thanks for hanging out. Like, I've noticed a steady, like, between 70 and 80 people when I've been able to look. So y'all are like troopers. You have a great channel. Rachelle, you're amazing. I really appreciate it. I am literally, my projected date based on the astrological, I'm getting nerdy, on the astrological sign, since we're in Mercury retrograde that ends Monday and then into the new moon and stuff. I'm starting my website then. If you want anything, you have any questions, you can email me. I prefer emails because I'm getting to the point in my spiritual stuff that I can't always get back to Instagram and all that kind of stuff, because I have like 4 things, one personal and then for each one of my doing. So y'all can find me there. Again, I'm one of the hosts of the Lights at Midnight podcast. If you have any questions, a lot of that actually you can get a lot of answers there. It's somewhat, we'd like to think, entertaining. We're a little funny, but we also teach a lot, and we have special guests that come on and tell their origin stories and stuff. I think Rachelle is going to actually come on the podcast at some point in the season. Maybe we talked about it.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking, I'm like, we talked about this twice, okay? And when she gets time, but yeah, y'all been super friggin' awesome.
I have an idea for us if you're down for it. We kind of talked about it the other night.
We can talk more about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking, I mentioned this to you and I mentioned it last night, like on TikTok. Like, we should totally do a speed dating off of astrology, but not the whole chart, because that would be really hard. But just like, since you know more about astrology than I do, like most typical matches, like we could reach out and be like, okay, we got any Tauruses here for this? Sagittarius?
Don't get me started, because me or you don't like the love stuff, but I am so willing to start an astrological business.
So fun because like it's so fun. Like, I sit there and watch it for hours because people are ridiculous. But not only that, like, they get so many likes and watches and stuff for it.
Well,
like,
we can talk about that.
Could be something that would be so fun. Like, just something fun. Like, I don't actually think it's gonna work out, but I just think it would be fun to do off of, no one else is doing astrological stuff. But it's funny whenever I see those people come on, they're like, well, what's your sign?
Yeah.
And then the other person's like, okay, I'm not talking to you. So it would obviously have to be people that are,
Spirit's already told me a way to do it. You have to, I ain't gonna say all that here, but Spirit's already showed me a way. Like, I'm an idea maker. I can make ideas all day long. And that's just who I am.
I think it's for, like, I don't know if it's to grow or just fun or what it is, but I found it and got the idea for a reason. And I told you for a reason. I think it would be fun.
When let's put it to you this way. When I get my groove in and you're getting your groove in and like we're getting settled down, we'll talk about it. So guys, if you're into the speed dating with the astrological stuff, you can just hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and be ready to speed date astrologically here in probably about 6 to 8 months, because we got to get our shit together.
Well, either TikTok or here. I don't know. We could do both.
No, TikTok all the way. That's
TikTok.
Yeah.
But that's all at the same time. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll do it here and there. We can do it both, but TikTok will be like the best. I'm just saying. Anyways.
For that. Anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but thank you guys.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I see everybody. Some people are leaving. I'm just looking over at the chat. Thank y'all for hanging out with us.
You guys, happy Mother's Day.
Yes. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers.
Yep. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day. Remember, I got jewelry.
Yes.
I got jewelry. Me and Tammy got jewelry.
Wait, no, it's that way.
Mother's daughters.
Yep.
Oh, and I'm getting blue agate next week. So that's more for emotional healing. It's supposed to heal like your emotions, your soul, your mind, body, spirit kind of thing. It also helps with your throat chakra for communication and people that have problems speaking and things like that. But
like anxiety, and she's right, like anxiety too around social stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I have those two besides the purple ones.
Awesome sauce. Buy her stuff. Oh, wait a minute. Buy her stuff.
I'm gonna do more too. I have more ideas. It's just getting there. I was gonna start off small. Okay.
That's all you can do, because like I went into like starting Treasure Tree and stuff, and we were doing pop-ups and everything, and I got like $7,000 deep in supplies, and now I've got like supplies everywhere, and I just don't have the time. Like I've got to do it.
Well, see, because of the psychic fairs coming up, so that's why I kind of need to make it anyways. I need to have something there besides readings, is my opinion and what I want to do. But I really want to do like rainbow moonstone, but I need to learn how to wire wrap.
Yeah,
I am not crafty. This is a whole new thing for me. Like I like crafts, I like to do them, but I'm just not good at it.
Then you'll talk about the wire stuff. Like I know a little bit about it, and V knows how to do it kind of, but I'll talk to you more about it when we have a chance. Like if you have any questions, I'm here for you.
It's like that.
Okay, I can kind of see it. Hold on. Yeah, you can send me a picture of it because I'm half blind. Okay, yeah. There's different types of wire you can get, and you definitely don't want to get any type of coated wire. Depending on what you want to get, you can get the silver or whatever, or you can get like stainless steel, and there's different types. Like you have square wire, you have round wire, you have different gauges and stuff like that, and they form different purposes, and like YouTube's really great for all that. I mean, it's a lot, but it's a lot of fun if you can get it going. Like my old man's just good at everything. He sings, he screams in music, he raps, he draws, he does everything. He's just like the jack of all trades. So anything he does, like, don't surprise me at all, but he's able to do it somehow. I don't have the patience for it. I would rather build the little tiny terrariums. But yeah, the wire wrapping, he's told me a lot about it and probably learned from YouTube. It's pretty cool though. Like if you can get in the groove, man, people love it. People love it. It sells. You're muted. I don't know if I can't hear. Can you? Oh, thank you. He is. He can be my dream and my nightmare sometimes. I mean that in a funny way. Like we were best friends for like a long time before we ever dated. And he's really awesome. He's like my best friend.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Yeah.
My mic came unplugged somehow. Don't ask me how. It was sitting right there. It was like I pulled it out a little bit and it worked. It was weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is interesting because it just went out of nowhere. Did you see the light go off? It shouldn't have. It shouldn't have done anything.
Maybe it just pulled out enough.
I didn't touch my computer though. Nothing was touched. But
if something's like, all right, guys, you're done. It's time to go.
Well, Dylan did the same thing with my sound at one time when I did. We didn't
talk about Dylan.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he took out my sound when I was doing his reading.
Me and you connect. Like I connected through you with him that night, and I even like before, like we talked about having the same vision about certain things. I'm not going to say anything, but we've actually had like similar visions about him, and it wouldn't be surprising because I connected with his energy too. And I don't normally do I can do true crime, but I just don't. Not much. I like to practice with it, but like It's interesting.
I'm having I need to work on him again, actually, now that that's coming. It's kind of weird that he popped into my head, because I'm like, what am I going to work on next? I'm kind of torn between like going back to Madeline, doing Nicola again, because there's a certain vision I keep seeing with her, and Dylan, because Dylan keeps popping up location wise, and it's like I can almost get a better gist of it, because I didn't use Tammy before, so I'm wondering if I can get more on the location, because it's I feel like I got fire, and I never got that before. And there's a movement, there's a being moved, and that may be why I was getting property. But then he was maybe there at the property, and then I don't know. I have to do another.
I feel you're on the right track. That's all I'll say. I feel it. Like I can feel what you're saying.
When he was arrested, I started seeing fire, and I never got that before. But he did. Yeah, I mean, I knew it was him allegedly. I just had a lot of people telling me he couldn't have done it. He didn't do it. And I'm like, dude, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Because when I was talking to that person about that was saying, oh no, he didn't, there's no way he did it. And we were talking about, I got sick. I mean, sick. Like I was going to puke. And it was almost like he was saying, yes, he did. And at that point, that was my sign. And I was like, I don't care what you're saying about how you don't think he did it. You don't know what people are capable of. Come on.
Yeah. Because it's so funny. You just said that was my sign, because in my head, like Spirit was saying, here's your sign. I just didn't say it. So
I got so sick because we were discussing him, and he was like, I don't believe he did it. I believe he was set up. And I all of a sudden got like, I was going to puke. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm feeling so sick right now. And I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
But because he knows the guy and everything, he's like thinking there's no way. And I'm like, you never know. Like you literally never know. The guy has a temper. He has guns. It's his thing for disaster,
Yep.
So
that's true. And he had a dark past.
Yeah.
He had his own demons to deal with.
And that's what it felt like. It felt like he kind of didn't like the way that maybe Dylan said something to him or something like that. I think it had something to do with the property, but yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I don't know how we got off on that, but he's the one that messed with my sound before. It's weird. It's odd because he was coming in really strong, like in the beginning, and then he kind of got irritated with me, I think.
Well,
like
and it
frustrated, not irritated, frustrated.
Yeah.
Frustrated,
and you were going a lot of different directions. Like that's what I'm feeling. Like you ended up going a lot of different directions because you were being pulled places. That's what I'm hearing. I don't remember. Maybe I am remembering, but I'm feeling like he was being pulled in a lot of directions. So it wasn't necessarily just you that he was frustrated with. He's frustrated in general with all the hoopla, because it seems like Dylan wasn't the type of person that would want that kind of attention. He does not want this. This is not what he wanted, obviously. So that's kind of how I felt when you said that. That's exactly what I felt or got, whatever.
Yeah. So it might be time again, because I don't think really anybody's trying to communicate with him anymore. So his energy is more settled. I mean, the first reading I did was the best, but then I kind of got pulled all over in different directions, but it's the desert. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when it comes to location, I hate it because I can't tell why I'm being pulled here, why I'm being pulled there. It sometimes doesn't even have anything to do with the person. It makes it frustrating a little bit, but I think he also got a little irritated because I was kind of listening to that person telling me no, that the dude couldn't do it. And that's when he made me sick. I was like, no, because I definitely felt he was there when I was talking to the person, but it was like, then he made me sick. Like, yes, he did, like, yes, you're going to find out sooner or later. But
yeah, it's interesting. I have my own theories as well. Like after you do your reading, we can talk about it for fun, like we do sometimes. It's always fun to go back and talk about it when you can, because I can't always talk to you about readings because you're doing them for that. So I'd like to talk to you about it whenever you're ready, because it's so cool.
And now we know what the pond was for. I mean, it wasn't even for him. It was, and I didn't think he was there, but for his phone, with all the evidence in it.
Yeah.
So
I've heard something.
I know the dude was arrested. I know, we're just talking about it. But I described him and said where he lived and everything. But
that's weird. I heard something in my attic just now, and I never hear anything up there like this. I've never heard this sound before. It's not scary or bad. Like I'm sitting here like, but I'm good. But I'm just saying it's an odd sound. So maybe a tree limb hit or something. But maybe it's time to talk about Dylan again. I think you're right.
I think so. I've kind of been trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, but I know there's also new cases I want to, but sometimes I try to go off of back of where I get pulled back into, you know, where I feel the pull to, because whenever I felt the pull back to Delphi, that's when I got the name. So I try to go with the intuitive punches on who to work on.
Didn't they pull in? Didn't they get the guy that they think one of the guys that are involved now? I just remembered that. Yeah, I forgot about that. See,
well, that's what
I don't keep up with stuff.
I was talking about that guy to the other guy, and he was like, he couldn't have done it. You know, I know him, and I was like, well, you never know what someone's gonna do. And I got sick talking about him. So that told me right there that, you know, and plus he matched everything I got. No matter how much I tried to see somebody else, I couldn't see somebody else. It was always the same description, everything. I couldn't get anybody else. It was always him.
Spirit just come through with a distinctive word, and I don't feel comfortable saying it here. And it's no offense to anybody. It's just something I'll tell you later. And I'm not trying to be secretive, but I don't want to put anything out there and cause any issues. And it's not anything bad. It's just a certain organization that I really don't want to talk about right now.
Well, I mean, I definitely don't think he was like set up or anything like that. I think it was just something
no.
It was just something that happened in the heat of the moment, unfortunately. One of those things where someone couldn't keep their anger under control.
And now we're talking about Delphi, right? Or are we talking about Dylan?
Dylan.
I'm talking about Delphi. I was thinking that's what's coming through for me for that. When we switched, I heard something. I'll maybe talk about it later. Kind of like that, yeah, but a little bit different. Yeah, you're on the right track. That's kind of what I feel. Something like that.
Yeah, no, that all came in all the readings.
I don't know. I just heard it. It just came out.
I just can't connect it. But I also got stuff on the Stevensons, so I really wanted to work them too because I got stuff in Delphi on them. In the Delphi auto rights on them, and they think that it's connected through whatever the weapon or some kind of something that was at the Stevensons ended up in Delphi. So it's some sort of weird connection. And they're looking at truck drivers, which is what I kept getting in Delphi. So I think that I need to work on that too, because I got information on it already that I didn't know. Interconnects.
Yeah. Yep, a lot of good things. Even if it's old, it's good because I mean you're constantly tying in stories. You know what I'm saying? You're constantly like giving it more. It's like almost breathing life back into the case, which, you know, can help things get in motion. Like even just the smallest little working pieces of life can bring about certain things. I mean, and I know that sounds kind of metaphorical, but I really mean that. Like it can like pick up motion and stuff. You know, and get things, find people. And we have different technology now than we did back then and all kinds of stuff when it comes to finding people. And it's really cool.
I just wonder who would give me more information on where Dylan is, if it would be Dylan or my consult.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at that sometimes.
Yeah. I think a little bit of both.
Because sometimes they don't really know how to explain where they are.
Yeah, because they're like they're going through transition. Like, because they're like, yeah, I get what you're saying. It might be a little bit of both. Feel like it's a little bit of both, like channeling through both.
Yep. Ooh, my consult.
Yes.
All right.
Well, guys.
Yeah. We got off track, but that's okay. We do that. We're both ADHD. You have to expect
squirrel. What? Sorry.
Exactly. What?
Y'all probably figured out I'm not like wild, but I'm a little silly. So hopefully I wasn't too much. Like I kept it down.
She's the Gemini twins. It's so funny. I just heard that in my head. I was the Yin Yang twins, the Gemini twins.
Yep, and I'm a Cancer too. Like I'm a Cancer moon and a Cancer rising, so I still have to have that like retreat into my little shell and like have those moments of like inner workings, and that's when I come out like reborn, and then I can be like my socially butterfly. But I have social anxiety like a
Motherly,
sometimes.
nurturing. My mom's a Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And she does
Yep.
do that.
I'm protective over people, like I just how I am. That's probably why I do what I do. I'm just pretty awesome. But yeah.
Do you see
Thank y'all.
this comment right here? I put it on the screen.
Oh, nice.
She's offering to trade Reiki with you.
I will see if I can follow. Hey, if you want to contact me, my information's in the description box. You can just send me an email or a message or something, and we can chat. For sure. Because it's not letting me go on it, and I don't want to mess anything up. So I appreciate it. That's really cool. We can talk.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here, Luna.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. I've had a lot of fun. Yep.
All right. We'll see you guys again one day soon.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. Bye.